right, and we are live. Hello, YouTube. This is Dark Tower Palaver here for another roundtable episode. As you've probably seen if you've watched any of these before, that we're a podcast, and this is our video recording where we have the live chat and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, we're here for doing our newest podcast here, our second one of 2022. So should be a lot of fun.
Yeah,
got some fun stuff to cover. And yeah, the other thing was we're still flip screens. We flip screens to start the new year.
Yeah.
Because it made no sense with how we had it. We were both looking off into space from the way you guys were seeing it. So it's good to have it flip now so that when I look over at Peter on the screen, it actually looks like I'm looking at Peter.
Yeah.
And vice versa. Yeah. So it was, I looked at the live thing for a second. It looked like I was looking the other way. I'm like, wait, why is that? There we go. It's caught it though. Hello everyone. Cody, Alan, welcome to the show. Yeah, so we're here for roundtable number 116. I guess that's on the screen as well. I end up getting rid of the starting soon thing. We've had that for ages, but it's like started to realize that now that we're doing like the YouTube and well, now that we have the cameras and all that kind of stuff, we pretty much haven't really used that slide for the most part. We're pretty much the second we go to where anyone could see anything, we're starting. So
it's just another thing for you to forget.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. Dick. Hello, Mark. Good to have you with us. But yeah, we're here. Let's. I don't know. I don't know. It's nice, chilly January. I don't know. Well, at least here.
Yeah, here.
But I don't know about everywhere else. I know it's probably sweltering down in Australia. I saw there was wildfire down there.
Oh no, not another one.
I've been hearing some updates. I have one of those apps that shows you like 911 things. And yeah, they kept pulling up Australia, and that's not super common on those apps. Usually it's just like there's a manhunt, or like when that building collapsed, or the bridge collapsed in Pennsylvania, there was a building caught on fire near. Things like that usually happen, but Australia is definitely a unique one. So I was like, what the hell? I looked at it, it's like wildfire. I'm like, oh god, that's how 2020 started.
Yeah. Was
an Australian wildfire. And it only got worse from there.
Don't bring that up, please.
Hello, Jim. Welcome. Yeah, so let's go ahead and hit the intro and get started on to number 116 here. I'm excited to talk about some things. I'm guessing anyone that doesn't have their head in the sand probably knows what we might be talking about, at least in parts. So, not Peter. I mean, Peter's what are those animals in the
ostrich?
Is it the ostrich? As I'll say, and they're only in cartoons, right? They don't actually do that.
No, they do it in real life.
What?
Yeah.
That just seems like a cartoon thing.
No, it's real life.
Never trust a giant bird. That's all I'm saying.
The only thing worse than that is a giant monkey.
Oh, man.
And yes, we will get into that.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and hit the old intro, which we do still love. Alan, thank you for that.
Yes, thank you.
Definitely loving it. So let's go ahead and hit that and get started.
The Dark Tower by Stephen King. The man in black fled across the desert, and the gunslinger followed. Go then. There are other worlds than these. Death, but not for you, gunslinger. It's time we had our own Palaver, I think, and it's going to take a while.
And yet, dauntless, the slug horn to my lips I set, and blew. Child Roland to the Dark Tower came.
We are content, one from many. Let the Palaver begin.
Hello and welcome to Dark Tower Palaver. This is our podcast covering Stephen King's magnum opus, The Dark Tower series. My name is Tad.
And I'm Peter.
And we're here for Roundtable 116. Second episode of the year for 2022.
One away from Master Chief.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Getting there. I still haven't played the new one.
I haven't played 5 yet.
I saw that they posted something where they're like, Halo Infinite, it's the biggest Halo launch of all time. And I'm like, wow. I mean, I guess it makes sense, but it's like...
Even over 2?
Yeah, it said it's the
Wow.
biggest launch they've ever had. And it may have been something to do with the online, but I was like slightly sad because I'm like probably the first Halo launch that I wasn't part of in any way.
I had absolutely nothing to do with 5. I still haven't played. I own a copy of it.
I was gonna say I think that one was I played through that one, but I didn't really dig the online. But yes, tangent already right off the bat here. We haven't even done the intros yet.
Welcome.
But yes, 117 would definitely be a Master Chief number. But let's go ahead and hit the intro to get started before we get too far in. We want to warn everyone about spoilers. If you're new to the show, these intros are probably more helpful. If you're new, just know that we spoil all kinds of things in these episodes.
Mainly the ending.
Yeah, the ending of the story, the ending of characters, the ending of story, like big plot points, tend to come up fairly regularly. So if you haven't finished the 7 primary books of the Dark Tower series, you may want to stick to our book club episodes. On those, most of those episodes are spoiler free. We've recently added a spoiler section at the very end, but it should be very clear when that's coming, and we make sure to keep that super isolated at the very end, so you can listen to a majority of it and then just shut it off when we tell you it's a spoiler time if you haven't finished the books. But with the book clubs, on the non-spoiler section, which is like 95% of those episodes, we'll talk about where we're at or before, and that's it. We won't jump ahead, and we won't talk about future things. But the roundtables, we spoil all kinds of stuff, so this is your warning. As well as there may be some spoilers for other King works if we dive into those. We've definitely, I don't know when we actually made the jump and kind of started exploring the whole King universe.
Years ago.
But either way, yeah, for the longest time we were pretty much, it was after the movie, I know that. But there was a certain point where we just realized, everything is part of the Dark Tower and the King. So let's talk about
level.
Let's talk about everything. And ever since then, like, there's probably some light spoilers about certain things. I don't know if I have anything on the rundown that I have planned necessarily. Maybe Salem's Lot.
The Mist. We will be talking about the Mist.
Yeah, the Mist. Mrs. Carmody, everyone's favorite grocery store customer, right, Peter?
No. No. Stop it.
Oh, man. So, yeah. That's your spoiler warning. Also, if you want to find the podcast, you can find us on Apple Podcasting. You can stream us on Spotify, Stitcher, or any podcasting service. You can subscribe, rate, and review us on any of those services. We'd appreciate that. You can find the show notes at darktowerpalaver.com. There you'll have, like, everything we cover in this episode I'll have over there. So if you want to, like, go read the articles that we're referencing, you can do that at there, as well as if we have any visual stuff, I'll have it over there as well as we have our new questions for new listeners. If you are a new listener and you want to introduce yourself to the quartet, the extended quartet, which we now count you part of, the best way to do that, as we see Roland and the whole gang doing every time someone joins, whether we actually read it or not, because a lot of times we already know the backstory. So usually it's like a couple sentence thing from Stephen King where it's like, and then Eddie told his story or whatever.
Yeah.
Or Jake, probably Jake more so, because we actually do read Jake's story. No, we don't really read Eddie's story. We pretty much join him the second that Roland does. So, but like Jake, for instance, is a good example. Or maybe catching Jake up when he comes back type thing. So those kind of, but if you want to introduce yourself, we have a bunch of questions over there. I want to say we want to have them answered immediately.
We love the survey from new listeners.
Yeah.
Or longtime listeners who have never emailed can do it as well. It's just such a fascinating thing to hear about how different people came to the tower. And who's their favorite? Who do they hate?
Yeah.
What's their favorite scene?
And you can do all of those questions. You can do just pick a few of them and whatever. It's just a good little primer for a first-time email. So you can find that over there at darktowerpalaver.com. As well as if you want to support the show, you can do that at patreon.com/darktowerpalaver. We just had a hangout yesterday. And we actually didn't talk about the Mist because but Peter deciding what he was going to read next.
I threw it in our Discord server for our Patreons to let them decide.
Yeah.
So I started reading Skeleton Crew. We're going to get into that later.
Yeah, definitely. And on the hangout I talked about, one thing I'll mention is I want to get one of those symbol monkeys.
No.
I want to find me one of those to buy and have it up on the shelf behind me.
Nope.
Here.
I said it yesterday. I'll say it again just so everyone can hear it. You do that, I stop coming. We'll do this remotely. I mean, we'll still record the show. I'll just be at home when we do it.
Oh, those, and I'm actually finding those symbol monkeys are actually kind of hard to find.
Good.
Like you look at the just your general classic toys, like the drinking bird or like a Rubik's Cube. Like there's 100,000 companies out there for most of those toys that are like selling them. But the symbol monkey, I am not finding. Like
good.
I'm finding that I'll probably have to go on eBay and spend a good chunk of money to get me a symbol monkey. Unfortunately. Looks like we also have Carol and Chris from Australia joining us. Hello, everyone.
Even Alan says ew about the monkeys. So,
oh man, I am 100% pro symbol monkey. I think they're awesome little toys because of all the classic toys. They're probably one of the creepiest, and they are the creepiest. I don't know, man. There's some classic dolls that are
dolls are different, man. That's a toy. When I picture creepy dolls, I picture those dolls that people buy and put in cases, and you're not allowed to play with them.
Yeah,
that's not a toy. That's different.
Well, no, there's some that were meant to be toys that are very creepy. I think most dolls that have like the opening eyes when they you lay them down or pick them up type thing, those are super creepy.
My daughter has one of those.
Yeah, those are. I mean, most of them aren't super creepy, but when you find some of the earliest ones that did that, because then they have like an older design to them, and they just look horrific.
It's always bad when the eyes get messed up, so it's
they're like half open.
Like one eye's open, the other one's not, and then you
the doll had a stroke.
You're like, what's wrong with this thing? And then it's just sitting there, and then all of a sudden both eyes pop open. You're like, God, Jesus.
One thing I've found is if you handle a doll in a very abusive way, you might say, people get really upset.
Yes, they do.
It's like, dude, it's a toy. But people project
what it symbolizes, sir.
Because
it's like if you took a toy dog, like a life-size toy, dachshund, small dog, stuffed animal. If you took it out back and started beating it with a baseball bat, people might get a little bit upset because of the symbolism.
Maybe a dachshund and a raccoon mix.
No, stop it.
All I'm saying, there needs to be someone that makes a stuffed Billy Bumbler. That they'd make a killing.
That would be awesome.
Like if they just had a fairly close life-size stuffed Billy Bumbler.
I'd have 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, one for me, one for my wife, one for my daughter. Yeah.
Yeah, somebody definitely needs to get on that.
I would absolutely cuddle with a Billy Bumbler at night.
Alan, it's called empathy, Dad. No, I'm just. That's just one thing that I've found is that because I don't even remember how I discovered it, but there was one time I think I had I was at somebody's house and they had a doll and I just picked it up and I grabbed it by the foot and was just throwing it in the air and twirling it, and just the look on some people's faces, and ever since then it's just this thing. It's kind of one of those psychological things I like to do to people is treat a doll in a certain way and just watch everyone just because it's really it's just a toy, but
it's called empathy, Dad.
It's what Peter's been telling me for 20 years.
I literally said this yesterday to you at the Hangout. It's not so much #Tad is terrible is because you're an asshole and you make comments that drive daggers into our hearts and everything like that.
Mostly your heart.
And mostly my heart. But it's the fact that you relish on it and it brings you joy weeks and years later. You were telling the story about how when we went and saw Spider-Man, you made a comment about how some of the kids in the theater weren't even alive when Iron Man was born, and it got to my wife. You told us yesterday how you're I thought about that the other day, and it made me happy.
Yeah.
That's the difference between you and other people. That's why #Tad is terrible exists.
Well, so you don't even have a mug anymore. So
I have the mug. I got a new one, but I need a new sticker is what it is.
So let's go ahead. Or you got your stuff.
Oh, yeah. We haven't even finished the intro. My bad. So if you want to reach us, our email is darktowerpalaver@gmail.com. We stream all of our shows here. It's youtube.com/darktowerpalaver. If you want to watch live and chat with us, you can. Like the video, subscribe, ring the bell to get notifications. There is going to be more content recorded specifically and exclusively for YouTube. Trailer reaction videos is on the list. Firestarter comes out later this year.
Yeah,
it doesn't have a date yet, but when the trailer drops, we will be recording a trailer reaction video with the two of us.
Yeah,
and posting it onto YouTube. There is going to be other content as well coming to YouTube, so make sure to check that out. Even if you're just a podcast listener, you can still listen to the podcast on that side, but we are going to be expanding that YouTube side more.
Yeah.
And then our social media is facebook.com/darktowerpalaver, Our Twitter is at Dark Tower Pod. That's at Dark Tower POD. Our Instagram is Dark Tower Palaver, all one word. And then, like Tad mentioned, we have our merchandise where I'm going to get me a new sticker that says hashtag Tad is terrible. It's from TeePublic.
Got the classic.
Yeah, you got the OG Dark Tower Palaver with the logo and then just Dark Tower Palaver. And then you can get the one that has, like my shirt, hashtag Tad is terrible.
The slanderous one.
No, it's true. And that can go on any number of merchandise. Tad has a pillow. I had a sticker. You can get a poster. You can get notebooks. You can get phone cases.
Yeah.
There's any number of things you can use. Either one of the logo or the alternative one. The truth. That's, Tad's terrible. And that's tpublic.com/user/Dark Tower Palaver.
Chris in the chat mentioned Big Baby from the Toy Story.
Yeah.
I forgot all about that thing. I Googled it because I'm like, oh yeah, there was something, wasn't there? And it does. It has like the half opened eye. Mm-hmm. And yeah, what was that? The third movie?
Yeah.
With the Big Baby? Yeah.
That's the enforcer for the bear.
Lotso, is it?
Lotso
or
the bear.
Funzo? Or
Lotso.
Is it Lotso?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
That's Strawberry Bear.
Yeah. There's also the Symbol Monkey in that.
The Symbol Monkey is the demon. the ever watching Symbol Monkey.
The Eye of Sauron of the Toy Story thing there. But yeah, so that's all the intro stuff. Had a few tangents there, keeping it long. But did you Google that?
I Googled Symbol Monkey. I shouldn't have done that.
The Symbol Monkey. I thought maybe you Googled the Big Baby there.
No, Symbol Monkey.
But then also calendar-wise, we will be back in a couple weeks for our first book club of 2022. We ended the year basically getting Jake through the door in the Dutch Hill Mansion. So we are basically starting off in the second book, quote-unquote, of book 3, which is titled Lud. So that'll be in 2 weeks from now, and then we'll be back for roundtables.
In how long?
A fortnight.
There you go.
Yeah. See, I'm losing my touch.
I got you.
I'm losing my touch here. But yeah, so we will be back then, and then we have some fun stuff coming up. We'll talk about. We'll throw out in the Palaver section for maybe what we have coming up on episode 117, Roundtable 117, here in about a month. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Cody says in the chat, I got my DTP hashtag Tad is terrible shirt today.
Oh man.
He's got it on today.
Oh.
So he's wearing it while listening to us. That's awesome.
Slanderous.
That's awesome.
Slanderous shirt.
That's the other thing. I always forget to bring this up. TeePublic has the ability to do different shirts, but they also have the ability to do different colors. I know you could probably not tell very well. I am wearing a blue shirt. Tad has a black one. They have different colors, so that's something to keep in mind.
I did restrict the colors though.
Oh, did you?
I did.
You didn't want someone walking around with like pink or
no? Because like for one, it's how does it like the
logo
kind of reflect off the logo, and there was just part of me that's like because what the color of the shirt is going to fill the tower. I'm like I kind of want dark colors. I think there was a few exceptions. Maybe I don't remember, but I did make it to where like you couldn't do like I don't know, like freaking Easter egg yellow or anything like that, because some of it would just be atrocious, like and how it reflects the logo. But
gotcha, I didn't notice that.
Yeah, because they have all kinds of colors. If there is a color that you want, though, as long as it's not too crazy and it isn't available, let me know, and I can always unlock different colors. I tried to keep it to where it was a little bit more stuff that would actually work well with the kind of the red color that we've got for our logo. So
gotcha.
Let's go ahead and jump on over to the news section, first of all. Got a couple news articles, not as much as we have had. It's still kind of a slow season, I think, for news, but there's a couple interesting things. The first one is I found this actually on King's Twitter. He has a new story as part of a short story collection that's for a good cause. So he tweeted about it on the 21st of January, 2022, and his tweet said, "Excellent horror anthology called Revelations, coming April 22nd, which is Earth Day. All proceeds going to climateoutreach.org. I'm in it, Joe Hill's in it, Lansdale, Tremblay, the whole gang. Good cause, and you can pre-order at, and then it gives you the URL for it. I'll have that in the show notes, but yeah, it looks like a horror short story collection that does have quite the collection of authors.
Wow.
So
awesome.
Including King. So kind of one of those oddball ones that 50 years from now is going to be kind of a weird one, because unless it gets wrapped into one of his other short story collections,
Yeah.
it's not necessarily going to, because there's a few of those, like kind of like like his Christmas cards. For years he used to send like a short story out for to his Christmas card list, and those are like super sought after because they were never widely released, and whatever story he has written in this anthology is one that may never be anywhere else. So
You make me want to get a copy and like lock it away and keep it safe for 20 years.
I mean, maybe might be worth it, but there's a lot of people. Richard Chismar is also involved. He mentioned a couple names, but there's a whole list of names there. So I'll have that in the show notes if you want to go and follow that link and pre-order it. I will say it is a little bit of, I mean, it is for a good cause, but it is a little bit of a high price. It's a $40 sticker price on that, but when it's for a cause, I think it's a little bit less. It's not just like all these people are just padding their own pockets by selling a book for $40. So, but that's the price tag on it. So yeah, they got that coming up on Earth Day, which is April 22nd. So that should be fun. I don't know if I've ever read any of King's stuff that was like outside of the normal realm. Like, I don't know if because there's been a few over the years too that he's put in like magazines and stuff. Some of his magazine ones have been rolled into his own short story collections, but if any of them haven't, and I haven't read all of his short story stuff yet, but if there's any that have never been wrapped into some of his others, I will have never read them. So those kind of things are always interesting to me because I don't know. And King has King done a short story collection? I wonder when the last one that he's done that was like not freshly written. Like back in the day, it was like, this was originally published in Playboy. This is sci-fi and fantasy, and then it was put into this. He collected a bunch of them, and
then 10 years later, he got 8 or 9 stories and put them together.
Yeah, like I don't know when the last time he's done that is, but that should be interesting to look at, as well as Joe Hill. I need to jump on that Black Phone, and read that. Read that.
Are you going to read it before the movie comes out?
I don't know. Generally, my rule is to actually watch before reading. That's my new rule that I developed over the last number of years. Back in the day, I used to like to read first, but I ended up finding that I actually ended up not enjoying the movies as much if I'd read the book first. So
you develop like kind of a prejudice for what they changed.
Yeah, I think actually Lord of the Rings is really where I developed that, because I enjoyed the first two a whole lot more than the third one. And between the second and third is when I read the series for the first time. And not that the third one's a bad movie. I think I enjoyed it less, and I think a big part of that was because I read the stories in between there. So
and you were expecting that, and that's not. There was changes made.
Yeah, so I think that's where I kind of came up with the idea. So maybe that isn't the last couple of years. That's probably the last 20 years that I've developed the idea to.
That is about 20 years ago.
Yeah. So when I developed the idea to watch and then read, because that gives me maximum enjoyment usually, because then I'm. You're expanding a lot of times as you read, but you're not necessarily judging the book based off the movie. And 9 out of 10 times, it's better in the book than it is the movie. There are rare exceptions. One of those I will point out is Jaws. Jaws is a terrible book. It's not great.
Okay.
No, the movie is like incredible, and the book I read it once and I was just like, dude, this is not great. This is I think Godfather as well. Godfather
not
book.
A great book.
The movie, well, it's all right. There's some stuff that's in there that's kind of cringy and not great. So, but the movies obviously, and it's basically because you get the whole young Don Corleone in the original book. So basically, the first movie and half of the second movie are in the first book.
Oh,
but there's some other stuff that's in there that the movies are better. But next up we have this is actually kind of a weird one. I actually kind of stumbled on this on Reddit, and it's a new book from Bev Vincent about Stephen King.
Oh, okay.
So he announced this, or I don't even think he's fully announced it, but it was mentioned on something, and I just ended up going through and finding the thing from the publisher. But the thing that Bev said in one of his comments is that he was asked a question about it, and he says he won't know until all the layouts are finalized and it's officially announced. So I don't think this is officially announced, but it's definitely in the works. Yeah. So this is from the publisher, which is Quattro Groups. It's from their website. It says a complete exploration, and the book is. Did I not grab the book title here? I don't think I did. Let's see.
Want me to find it?
If you can, let me.
You keep
no, actually, I could pull up the link here because I always link things in here to make it easier myself for the show notes. It's called A Complete Exploration of His. Stephen King, A Complete Exploration of His Works, Life, and Influences. And this is by Bev Vincent. And it says explore the the evolution and influences of Stephen King's body of work over his nearly 50-year career and discover how the themes of his writing reflect the changing times and events within his life. Timed with Stephen King's 75th birthday on the 21st of September 2022, so Stephen King's getting the big 7-5 this year.
Hey.
Let's see. Stephen King features archival photos and documents from King's personal collection, alongside the stories behind how his novels, novellas, short stories, and adaptations came to be. With critically acclaimed titles that have also been turned into blockbuster sensations like It and Carrie. King's, and I always find those interesting when someone like synopsizes King. I always find it interesting which ones they use
Because they
to.
ignored The Shining.
Yeah, I mean, no, just in general, because it's
Yeah.
because there's never.
No, I'm just saying
there's like if someone's going to use two to explain, like, or just
Yeah.
to credit King or something, they're never the same two.
No.
And there's never, not even one of them. It's not always one. Like it's not like It is not always mentioned. Sometimes they'll say like The Shining and Christine. Sometimes here It and Carrie. Like it's always different. I just find
Yeah.
it interesting because it's like, okay, what is King thought of as?
That's what I thought of as The Shining. That's why I said that.
Yeah, certainly that's his first bestseller, I believe. So King's work has stood the test of time across the decades. This history of the writer's struggles, triumphs, bestsellers, lesser-known stories, collaborations, and more make the perfect addition to any Stephen King's fan collection. Celebrate the beloved King of Horror with this informational and entertaining look inside King's most iconic titles and the culture they have created. And then the thing I grabbed, because I find this stuff interesting, is the format. It will be hardcover, and it'll be 224 pages. So be on the lookout for that closer to September when King hits his 75th birthday.
That's pretty cool.
That should be fun. So, yeah, again, not even officially announced, but they have it listed there. So it's kind of in this weird spot because Bev said that it wasn't officially announced yet, but it's on the publisher's thing. So it's like, I don't know, that's kind of weird. But there's no cover yet, so I just grabbed a picture of Bev and Stephen King. But, yeah, that should be fun to look for here in the future.
Yeah.
Next up, we have a fun little article, which, I don't know, it's interesting. And it's Stephen King's Salem's Lot movie. 5 burning questions we have about the upcoming remake.
Okay.
And again, I always hate the term remake because it's not a remake. It's a reimagining, readaptation, something like that. Because they're not actually going and remaking the previous...
The previous movie. They're taking the book and making a movie about it.
Yeah. But this is by Eric Eisenberg from Cinema Blend on January 23rd, 2022. And... this is fun because, I mean, I think, for you, Firestarter's probably your most anticipated, but for me, man, Salem's Lot is like, I'm super excited for Salem's Lot.
Yeah, Firestarter's my big one right now.
Yeah, and they're both coming this year, so that should be fun. So it says Salem's Lot is only the second novel that King got published, hitting bookstore shelves in 1975, but nearly half a century later, it seems one of the most beloved books of, it remains one of the most beloved books by the author. Because of this, there is a great deal of excitement surrounding the release of the writer-director Gary Dauberman's upcoming adaptation, and everything that we've heard about it only serves to enhance our anticipation, which I agree. We've gone through a lot of it on the show here. We've gone through all the casting announcements and, I don't know, about everything that has come out. But yeah, so this is one I'm excited for, but here's some questions they have, and I think there are some really good questions. What will be the impact of the previous 2 adaptations? It says, to date, Carrie is the only Stephen King book that has been adapted 3 separate times for film and television. But Gary Dauberman's Salem's Lot will see the vampires novel source material join that terrifically exclusive club. Tobe Hooper directed the classic 2-part TV movie that debuted in 1979, and Michael Salmon's small screen remake aired on TNT in 2004. Both have their own approaches to the book, and one wonders how those approaches will influence the 2022 version of the story. Which is actually, it's a good point, because as I was thinking about this, like that one kind of like struck me as where like, who the fuck cares? Like if I were making a Stephen King adaptation, I don't know if I would really care about the previous version. But then as I started thinking about it, I'm like, no, maybe I would though, because in some cases, like let's just say they were actually going to like redo The Shining.
Yeah.
You have to be cognizant of what Kubrick did. I mean, you just do. I mean, we saw that with Dr. Sleep. Like, Mike Flanagan was like, I couldn't just ignore Kubrick's movie.
No.
And that actually was like slightly perturbed King a little bit at first, when he first turned over the script to him, before he read it. We covered that where King was just like, kind of gave him a look where it's like, wait, really? Or said something about whatever. But it's like, you can't erase the fact that one of the most beloved and iconic horror movies of all time is called The Shining. And so if you're remaking it, there would have to at least be some impact on things. In fact, I was seeing there was one article that came across, but I wasn't going to cover it because it wasn't any more than really an ad for the Stanley in Estes Park, Colorado, which is obviously the inspiration for The Shining. And I was going through it, and it was funny because the lady was talking and it was basically just like, I think it was almost like her travel blog, but overall there wasn't really that much that was as interesting. Like, it was kind of, but not enough to like dive into. It almost felt like more of just a sales pitch for going there.
Gotcha.
But the one thing that she said is like, check-in time was whatever time, and like there's a line almost out the door because it's just a busy hotel. And she's like, so I just decided to wander around, and she's like, then I found the hedge maze. And she's like, that didn't exist in the old days. It actually was, but it was so requested by people going to the Stanley that they ended up finally just saying fuck it and built one. So kind of one of those things, like Kubrick's film is so influential, it's influencing the real hotel that wasn't not the real hotel that Kubrick used.
Yeah,
but
that one's in Oregon.
Yeah, but the one that that inspired King himself
stayed at and was inspired to write The Shining about.
Yeah, and it's like, so ultimately it's interesting because it's like, it isn't topiaries that people asked and they finally built. No, it was a hedge maze because it's like,
that's what's in The Shining the movie.
Yeah, that's what old Jack Nicholson ended up dying in there. Then the article goes on and says Gary Dauberman's Salem's Lot won't have the same 180-minute plus runtime real estate as the television adaptations, and then he says more on that in a second. And it will be inherently different than them because of that fact. But still, one wonders how the prior live action efforts will affect the remake. Will the film hone closer to the books, specifically in places where the previous versions didn't? Conversely, will been there, done that moments get changed to feel fresher? And I think that's actually one that is a good point too. It's like, is there something that both versions did that may feel kind of tired because it's been done so many times now, that may cause some updating? And it says either or both seem entirely possible, but it's not something we presently know about the film. And I also got to point out one of the scariest scenes from the Tobe Hooper versions on the screen here is the boy coming through the window. That's probably one of the most...
Is that Danny Glick, right?
I believe so, yeah. Or whichever Glick, yeah. But yeah, it's freaking terrifying. Like, there's still people that talk about, like, that is one of the things that scarred them. And it is. It's pretty creepy.
Yeah.
Next up, what will be cut to make the story fit into a movie length? And it says that just under 440 pages, Salem's Lot is not one of Stephen King's longest novels. And then in parentheses, The Stand, It, and Under the Dome are all well over 1,000 pages. But that says more about the general scale of King's storytelling than anything else. The novel is an epic in its own right, chronicling a vampire infestation that starts slow but grows exponentially until the entire titular town is overrun. Because of the scope of the story, the TV miniseries route has been preferred approach for adaptations. And thus, one wonders what will have to change about the source material to make it all fit into a standard feature length. And that's actually interesting. So I don't know, when's the last time you read Salem's Lot? Because honestly, it's been a couple years for me, but at the same time, when I do think, once I read that, I started thinking about it. I was like, you know what? It isn't that long of a book, but when you do think about it, I almost kind of wonder, is a movie going to be long enough? Because there is a lot going on in that, and it does kind of happen over a course of time, and it's like, to keep it into like an hour and a half, 2-hour movie, that's going to be a challenge.
2019?
What?
I read it.
Oh, okay.
I think I read it in 2019, and I'm thinking over Salem's Lot, like the course of events that I remember, and yeah, I see your point, because Ben comes to town, you got the meeting with, what's her name? The chick that he meets and everything, and then things start happening. It's not a fast.
Yeah, it's like even for a movie, I think for it being maybe more of a slow burn, and just how much happens, it's going to be hard, because that's the thing is, like, even if it's all happening in a short period of time, like let's just say all of Salem's Lot happened over a 48-hour period, that still wouldn't make it an easy film to make it for a 2-hour film, because there's so much that happens.
Yeah,
you'd have things that would be on top of each other happening at the same time, that it's like, cool, they're happening at the same time, but for a movie it has to spend that same 4 minutes to show two different things that are happening at the same time. Like, okay, now there's 8 minutes that are gone from your, like, you know what I mean? It just mathematically, it's like, and
it's
of course,
it's still a lot to put in there. So
yeah,
I think the stuff that's going to get cut out is you're not going to see all the stories about different people throughout Salem's Lot. You got the mom with the baby, You got the Glicks family and everything like that. So you're not going to see all of that. I think is where you're going to see some of it go. You're not going to see some of Barlow's dealings with, the town and everything like that.
Yeah. Susan Norton is who you're trying to remember. I just pulled up the cast because that's a thing that's interesting too, and I think he actually mentions this in the article here. As he says, even if Gary Dauberman's Salem's Lot clocks in at 2.5 hours, that's still more than 30 minutes shorter than both of the previous adaptations. And those TV movies each had to cut and condense quite a lot of material themselves to transition King's book to screen. Based on the cast list, it looks like all the major characters in the novel will be represented. We'll just have to wait and see how the arcs are manipulated and changed to fit in a new medium. Because that is interesting. Because I never really thought about it till this article, but then once I read that, I started thinking about it. I'm like, I started almost getting anxious. I'm like, how the fuck are they going to do it? How are they going to get all this? Because there is a lot going on there. But at the same time, I'm glad they're doing it because 2 TV versions. I'm glad we're finally getting a big screen version of Salem's Lot because it's one of my favorite stories. And the fact that it hasn't made it to the silver screen yet is a tragedy.
Yeah.
So,
Chris asked in the chat, I've not seen any adaptation of Salem's Lot. Which is the one to start with?
Mark beat me to the punch there. The Rob Lowe one in 2004 is not very well thought of at all. There are some elements that aren't as bad, but certainly the Tobe Hooper original is probably the way to go. But let's see. That one is... Yes, that's definitely the one I would start with. In fact, that's one I lent Peter. I don't even own the 2004 one though, so I can't say that whatever. But maybe even that says it is. Yeah, that the 2004 one's not very well thought of. The guy that plays Callahan in the 2004 one's pretty cool though. It's James Cromwell. Trying to think of some of the stuff that he's been in that you might know.
I know that name.
Yeah, he. Let's see. Let's pull up his IMDb real quick because he's been in a lot. Oh, Green Mile, duh. He's the freaking warden in Green Mile.
Yeah.
So he plays Father Callahan in the 2004 version, and I think that is really interesting to me. But yeah, overall, it was kind of a letdown. I've only ever seen it the one time, and I don't have very great thoughts about it. So
I just looked up the 1979 one. That's the Tobe Hooper one, right?
1979.
It's not available to stream on any service.
Yeah. There are definitely hard copies out there, and there's probably places you can buy or rent it, I'm guessing.
Yeah, you can buy or rent it from any of the major ones: Amazon, Apple TV, Google, YouTube, Vudu, Microsoft, DirecTV.
On the screen is definitely the Hooper version.
Yeah.
Yes, and of course Tobe Hooper, famous for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Did he do Poltergeist as well?
I think he did.
Because everyone always likes to throw that on Spielberg,
but it's one of those ones where it's
Spielberg is involved. I think he was a producer.
Executive.
I think he was a producer. But yes, Tobe Hooper, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and Poltergeist. Yep. So very good horror icon. But so that's definitely an interesting thing to think of, though, is how they're going to fit it. Because really, when it comes down to it, it's a dense book, 440 pages. It's definitely not a long one,
but it's not any. But it's not any dead air.
It's not like a breeze. Because I feel like Later, for instance, we talked about that a lot in the last episode. Later came out last year. That one I feel like could be an easy 2-hour movie if you wanted it to be. Not saying that there's anything bad about it. It's just that's a very good, tight story. But Salem's Lot just feels like there's a lot going on. So it'll be interesting to see how Mr. Gary Dauberman pulls that off.
Yeah.
Next up, next question: who is playing Kurt Barlow? It says, when casting got underway for Gary Dauberman's Salem's Lot in the fall of 2021, it was an exciting time to be a Stephen King fan, and yes, we covered it all here.
Yep.
Each of the actor announcements came with the news of who they were playing with the adaptation, so we got all the immediate we all got to immediately start imagining Lewis Pullman as Ben Mears, Bill Camp as Matthew Burke, and Pilo Asbrick, I forget how to pronounce that guy's name, as Richard Straker. What's particularly curious, however, is while we know who is playing just about all of the primary roles in the film, we don't yet know who is playing the central villain, the head vampire Kurt Barlow. Which, that's an interesting one to be.
Gotta know your villain.
To be missing.
Wait, are you gonna say he's not a villain now? This is what you usually do when I mention the bad guy.
I mean, is a vampire a villain?
Yes.
Isn't it their nature?
No.
Is a lion a villain because it eats the gazelle?
No. Not the same.
How is it not the same?
it's not praying for what it just needs. It also creates, aside from that. When the lion eats the gazelle, it doesn't create another gazelle, another lion.
So you say zombies are evil then?
Yes.
I don't know, man.
They're walking corpses. I mean, come on, dude.
I think that's questionable because it comes down to the nature.
I
thing.
cannot believe that you are arguing that zombies are good guys.
I'm not saying they're good guys, but they're not bad guys.
They are bad
They're
guys.
just-
They try to eat you.
They're just forces of nature.
Right, and a bear eating people is bad. That's why they stopped the bear from doing it.
But do you count like the Jaws shark as a villain?
Yes, it's trying to eat people.
I don't see it as a villain. I see it.
You don't have to be a bad person to be a villain of a show. I hate to break it to you. Just because you're going against what, the protagonist wants, you can be depicted as a villain. So that's a thing.
Yeah,
You
I
don't
know.
have to be evil to be a villain.
I don't know. Seems suspect to me. This is right now. The smart money is that Barlow will be played by William Sadler, as he is the only actor that is that actor revealed as part of the Salem's Lot cast who wasn't specifically identified with the role when his involvement was with the production was announced. Then it says in parentheses, although admittedly he revealed the news himself instead of it coming out via the trades. So maybe he let the cat out of the bag that he was involved in it when maybe he shouldn't have.
Whoopsie.
Because honestly, I kind of wonder, it has to probably be William Sadler, right?
Yeah.
Like a big actor like that. I mean, he's not fucking Gary Oldman. I'm not talking big like that, but like, especially for King fans, he's a very well-known guy. He's been in a lot of King stuff. So for him to be involved, and I just think that he would fit perfectly as a Barlow. But yeah, this says, given in his extensive history of the King movies, having starred in The Shawshank Redemption, The Green Mile, and The Mist, it would be totally appropriate, but there is still no official confirmation. I mean, personally, I would say let's just get Gary Oldman cast in this and have him play Mr. Barlow.
He's already played a vampire.
Yeah, but
he's done.
Yeah, you telling me that he couldn't come in and be a perfect Barlow,
No,
though?
but he's already played a vampire. Give someone else a shot. Come on. Everyone gets a turn.
Oh man, and that he does quite the Dracula too. Whether it's the romanticized vampire or the beast that he turns into. Either way, Gary Oldman does a good job in that Coppola movie.
Yeah.
And then Chris says, I hate to say it, but I'm with Tad on this one. Yeah, because I think when it comes to nature, it's a thing where it's like, yes, it's like the force that's against the hero, but I don't know that you can call it like villainous.
It's literally the definition of a villain is the one who goes against the hero.
No, I think villain
That's
means like
literally the definition of villain.
Google definition of villain.
I
think-
literally just
I-
Googled the
I think,
definition
no, if you
of
say
villain.
if you say like antagonist, like yeah, that's the anti-protagonist thing. But like in terms of like villainous, I think there's like a malice that's involved there, and I don't think you have that with a natural force.
Villain, definition and meaning. A character in a story who plays or play who is opposes the hero. Literally, the definition of a villain is someone who opposes the hero.
Yeah, I think that's a poor definition.
That's
because
take it up with Merriam-Webster.
Because when you say like this person's villainous, you're not saying that they're standing against the good guy. You're saying they're evil. They're
That
inherently
is
bad.
not the definition of villain. That's what I'm saying. Is you're wrong about the definition of a villain. It depends. It's the same. You can do that with nature too. The lion is the villain if it's a gazelle documentary, but if it's a lion documentary, he's not the villain then.
I agree with Chris. Villain has to have evil intent. Jaws has no evil intent. He's just a shark that's just trying to eat.
No, see that's wrong though. There can be
I
a
didn't know
villain.
it.
There could be a villain in a movie who has no evil intent. The principal in Ferris Bueller's Day Off has no evil intent. He's trying to make Ferris Bueller
But see,
follow the rules. That
where-
is not a villain.
That's where I'd say he's not a villain. I'd say he would be the antagonist because he's again he's the opposing force.
But it's Ferris Bueller's Day Off. So again, it's where the story is told from. Who is the hero of the story?
One, I've never heard villain described that way. And yeah, I just because for me it has to have some kind of evil intent. Like Hannibal Lecter, that's a villain, But like I'm trying to think of like a one that's even more natural, like even like the moon falling on the earth with the new Roland Emmerich movie. Like like the moon's not evil. It's not the villain. It's just a natural thing that's happening that's going to kill everyone.
Right.
Or what's the one we saw after graduation? It's Roland
Day After
Emmerich.
Tomorrow.
Same thing. It's like, the second ice age or whatever the hell that, I don't remember the premise of that movie. I remember a few like scenes, but I don't remember much about it. But that's taking it down to the most natural element of like, it's just pure nature. Cause like with an animal, I guess you could I think sometimes like movies will make animals evil, like Congo, for instance.
Well, in Day After Tomorrow, there's wolves that come down into New York and
Wait,
try to eat
there
them.
is?
Yeah, there is.
I don't
They run from wolves in that movie.
I do not remember that at all, dude.
Yeah. But no, you're right. The monkeys in Congo, the gorillas in there are villains. Like, they're out to kill the people. Like, I mean, I hate to break it to you, but that is what a villain is. It doesn't have to be someone who is evil.
Yeah, but see, even like Google here is saying in film, novel, or play, a character whose evil actions or motives are important to the plot. And of course, all the pictures are like devils and whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I would hold that vampires might be at least held from the whole realm of being, of course they're the opposing force, but
Because
I don't know if
the
they're
flaw
evil.
the flaw in your logic there is, and what Chris is saying here, villain has to be evil in intent. Jaws has no evil intent. The thing is that then you're excusing a lot of villains for not. Then they're not villains because they have no evil intent. Oh, it's for the good of mankind. Thanos is a villain. Even though what he's doing is supposedly for the good of all time. I hate to break it to you.
Another one.
That is a villain.
Another one is the birds from Hitchcock's movie. That's supernatural too. Or not super. I don't mean like supernatural. I mean
it's still
it's
an animal from
it's,
nature.
Yeah, it's very natural is what I meant. I was just using super in the wrong way.
It's just like there's a story out there. I heard about this just in the off chance. It's the thing is that it's there's I think it's a TV show that's based on the idea that every single animal on planet Earth decides, man, humans are fucking up this planet. We've had enough, and every single animal turns on us. It's us versus the animals. So dogs, cats, birds,
monkeys.
snakes, monkeys, lizards, everything is trying to kill humans at that point.
that'd be a fun.
That's obviously
That'd be a fun
terrifying
movie.
because that just takes Beast to a new level for me. I would never watch it.
Everything.
Everything.
You just be walking outside and you hear a bird chirping. And
Oh
you just,
my God.
You just know it's going to come like torpedoing at your jugular.
Yeah, but no, that's the thing is like.
But yeah, like I think I agree with what you're saying. Is if you were saying it was for like the word antagonist, I guess. But for me, villain, and maybe it's one of those things where it's evolved over time. Because maybe Merriam-Webster, whoever has a different definition there. But like the way it's used, I guess, is one of those things like usage, where usage can change a word over time. I would say most people in their mind, villain reflects some kind of evil, and that's where I would say like zombies aren't really evil. They're and they're not like the villain. They're just like this natural force. The villain is the bikers that break into the mall, or the soldier that's at the head of things in Day of the Dead. Like in most of Romero's, there is actually a villain,
a human
and it
villain.
has nothing to do with the zombies. Like that's the genius of his movies. Is like the zombies are just like
The Land of the Dead. It's the rich.
yeah, it's basically like the snow in Day After Tomorrow. It's like that's all the zombies are. They're just almost set dressing.
Yeah.
To cook humans, like what's the frog analogy, or throw a frog in a boiling pot, or
It jumps out, but if you slowly turn up the heat, it'll
yeah,
boil.
exactly. But I guess that's how I view it, and so I would argue, since you coaxed me into it, I'd argue that with vampires, there's at least an argument to be made that maybe they're not evil.
No. See, the thing is they're not just doing what nature intends them. I'm sorry, sir. I've seen vampire stories where vampires can live off of blood without killing and turning people into other vampires.
Yeah, Dark Tower. They don't kill the people. They just leave them alive as these almost like catatonic to continually feed off them.
Right. But the problem is that vampires in Salem's Lot don't do that. They turn you into other vampires, which would become a scourge. It would destroy all of mankind. That is villain actions right there.
As Agent Smith says, though, that's just like humans.
Yeah, it's true.
We just spread.
Yeah, humans are never villains. Yeah, let's have that argument that humans are never villains.
Well, Flag isn't a villain. Let's just throw that in there before we move.
Again, it also depends on the point of view of the story. I said it earlier, and I'm just going to reiterate it. Are you watching a lion's documentary, or are you watching a gazelle documentary? Because that determines whether or not the lion would be constituted as the villain of the story or not.
I think Seinfeld had a bit on that at one point.
Oh, did they really?
No, like Jerry Seinfeld, like on his stand-up, and he was like, he's like, it's weird how your opinion changes on nature documentaries depending on which documentary you're watching.
It's true.
He's
It's
like
true.
if you're watching one on gazelles, you're like, run, get away from the lion. And he's like, but if you're watching one on lions, you're like, get that little bastard.
Oh, really? I never
Yeah.
knew that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's absolutely true because I literally just watched a documentary about sharks last night.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, I want the sharks to eat. Fuck
Yeah.
those fish. Eat them.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, or you see like the ones where, like the killer whale like grab a seal and start pulling it in and stuff, and it's like which way are you interpreting
The
it?
mother seal could do nothing for its child. It's like, no, baby seal. The killer whale got its first meal in 3 days. Yeah, killer whale. Way to go.
Damn that Attenborough. Okay, so the next
Oh,
question.
I love Attenborough. He's so great.
But he's manipulating us. He's changing us. He's telling us which side to root for. And then Carol says the best rabbit hole ever. Yes, definitely a rabbit hole and a tangent here. Next up, how will Kurt Barlow be presented?
As a villain.
He's depicted as in depicting vampires in live action. There are two directions which filmmakers typically go. Sometimes they look like normal humans, but with massive fangs and strange eyes, and other times they appear as hideous demon-like monsters. Stephen King's Salem's Lot describes Kurt Barlow as being the former camp, but has famously been changed in previous adaptations, leaving the approach not an obvious one for Gary Dauberman's upcoming movie. And it says Rutger Hauer's version of Kurt Barlow in the 2004 adaptation sticks closer to what King describes in the book, but with the far more iconic version is the blue-skinned creature portrayed by Reggie Nalder in the 1979 TV movie. And honestly, the classic one is very Nosferatu inspired. Barlow is very Nosferatu looking in the 1979 version. Given this history, it is unlikely that going either route would earn any great deal of animosity or backlash from the fans. So it's just a matter of Dauberman's preference that determines the choice. We don't know what his preference is presently, but we know that Barlow will be so how Barlow will be presented remains a mystery. And the whole story of the Nosferatu thing, don't you? That they actually, because you're familiar with Nosferatu, like the 1920s. But they lost a lawsuit to the basically the family of the people that owned Dracula, Bram Stoker's like descendants, and so there was basically an order to destroy everything of it, because Nosferatu was basically considered a ripoff that was like legally whatever. So, and literally like there's like one film canister that I don't know whether it was like hidden or whether it was like lost, but that's the only reason that we can watch that film today is because there was one lost thing that wasn't destroyed.
Did it get overturned?
No, I don't. I think it just kind of disappeared. Like obviously, Bram Stoker's is in public domain at this point anyway. So, that's a famous story of Nosferatu, is that how it almost is something that we would never have seen as modern people.
That's crazy.
What do you think? What's your opinion though? How would you like to see Barlow? Let's just assume Sadler's playing him. Would you want to see him just straight human, or would you want to see him more? I don't want to say beastie, but more Nosferatu-like, more inhuman. Like, how would you? What would you prefer?
I think I think mostly human.
I mean, in the book he is, yeah. But how would you like to see him?
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
I want to see that. That's how he comes across in the book, and I love the confrontation with Callahan. I like thinking that it's going to be a dude, not a vampire dude, not a vampire like creature.
Yeah.
So
I think especially because the 2004 one is pretty forgettable. I would say that for most people, they probably don't really they don't perceive Barlow outside of the original. So I do think it'd be kind of cool to do the opposite and do just straight human. And like you said, to see the Callahan stuff, would be pretty cool. But yeah, I was just curious what your thoughts are. What about vampires in general?
Human. I've never dug the beastie, like
Nosferatu-ish.
Well, even like Bram Stoker's, like where he turns into a werewolf at one point, kind of creature.
Yeah.
And I'm just kind of like, that's not a vampire. I mean, who am I to argue with the OG, original vampire? But to me, it's vampires are a creature who look human, who walk, talk, like humans. Different ones can turn into bats and fly away and stuff like that. But for me, vampires are vampires, The only way you can kind of tell them is the different, hold up a cross to them and they react and stuff like that. I've never been a huge fan of vampires that are. What's that? There's a movie where it's like Alaska or like northern Canada, and it's like, it's really close to where it's nighttime, 18 hours out of the day.
Yeah.
And this
Is
group
it
of
30 Days of Night?
30 Days of Night.
Is that what it is?
I think it is. And then vampires come in. When you look at the vampires in that one, if I remember right, they're almost like creatures, not humanish.
Yeah.
I mean, they still got 2 arms, 2 legs, and a head. Humanoid.
Yeah.
But they don't look. I couldn't pass for one of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So for me, it's always been I prefer human to different forms of vampires.
Yeah, I think generally me too. I do appreciate creature vampires because I think they're a good spin, to keep things fresh. But I think for this one, I would definitely want to see him looking just normal.
I think so. I think that's what I would really want to see.
And what I love is when you get one that like where they're human for the most part, but you do something to change them, like just something small that maybe even the audience can't figure out, but it just makes them uneasy. There's something like their eyes change or something like that. The one thing from me is you've never obviously watched it, but like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, they have vampires. What they do is they put on their second face, and it's just makeup, and they get like a ridged line. Their eyes go yellow, and then the fangs come out. Yeah.
So it's a television way of showing like, oh, this person's a vampire. So like when you hold up the cross to them, that face has to show.
Yeah.
It's like their natural reaction to it. So that's how you can kind of know in that lore. And that even like that, I'm like, that's okay because it's only the face that's changing.
Yeah.
Like there's still everything else is exactly the same. Nothing else changes about that.
Yeah.
Just the forehead gets bumpy, the fangs, and then the yellow eyes. And just like for me, even that's kind of like that's my line. Like don't cross that.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah, cause again, I love the original '79 version where he's kind of more Nosferatu-y. Nosferatu itself is a great classic kind of adaptation of Dracula, even if it was what do you call it, like unauthorized.
Yeah.
But yeah. Then the last question here is the most interesting. Will it at least hint at connection to the Dark Tower series? It says, while Stephen King has never written a direct sequel to Salem's Lot, he did find a way to return to the story in 2003 with the publication of The Dark Tower 5, Wolves of the Kala. Not only does the book partially recount the events that transpired in King's second published novel, it also features the return of Father Don Callahan and reveals what happened to him following the shameful showdown with Kurt Barlow. Gary Doberman's movie will be the first adaptation of Salem's Lot made in the aftermath of this development, which not really because, unless the 2004 version was being filmed as Book 5 was coming out, maybe they were already too far into development.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess that's probably the truth, though, is they were probably, by the time Book 5 dropped, they didn't have time. Like, they were probably already in production, so he's probably right. Doberman's the first one that's going to have a hack at it post Book 5 of Dark Tower. So all the constant readers have to wonder, will the new film possibly hint at his fate? And he's got a little bit more here, but I'm going to pause and just say, one thing I want to see, post-credit scene, Father Callahan.
On the open road?
No, in the Sturgis, in Colibrim Sturgis.
Oh.
Imagine that as just a post-credit.
He wakes up there?
Yeah, and it's like, you don't even have to go that far into it. It's just like, just show it, because all of us Dark Tower readers would know what the fuck it meant. But for anyone else, it would just be like, oh, that's weird. Or that's abstract. Like, he's just in this, like, almost like, what would you even call that? Like, you'd almost think it was time travel, maybe, if you hadn't read The Dark Tower, because it would look like an older time period that he's at. And then it says, John Benjamin Hickey is playing the role of Father Callahan and Gary Doberman Salem's Lot. So at very least, we know that he'll be featured in the movie. But unfortunately, that's all we presently know. Unlike some of the other questions presented in this feature, this one is one that we might not have any answers for until the movie actually is out in theaters. But yeah, I think it's interesting. I do think that would be my preference, though, is to have a post-credit scene. Because I don't know how else do you portray any Dark Tower connection in the context of the Salem's Lot. When you think about it, like I don't know that you really can. it
I mean, the only thing I could think of is if you have Barlow say something along the lines of what, Roland might say, like mention, this is your quartet, this is your ka, or something like that, where, makes it so that he's aware of the tower kind of thing.
Yeah, I think the only problem there is we've had so many King things come out recently that's been cribbing some Dark Tower lines that aren't really Dark Tower related. So I think that even if you did that, even as us Dark Tower fans, it would be like, is it really a connection to the tower, or is it just more like Doctor Sleep, certain things where they've just thrown out some lines, which we love, but at the same time, like, it's not saying that, like, Doctor Sleep's connected to the Dark Tower. It's just, I'm trying to think, what was the other one that, was it Gerald's Game? Doesn't he say something like, all things serve the beam or something like that?
I can't remember. I've watched it that one time, and I need to go back and rewatch it.
Yeah. Then Mark says, how about Jerry Dandridge from Fright Night? Human most of the time, demonist when he wants to be. And I think that's kind of what Gary Oldman pulls off in the Dracula. Like, he transforms because he has, like, the younger version, the old man version, and then, like, the bat creature, like bat thing, beast.
Man bat. Very familiar with him.
Yeah, that's what it is, right? That's pretty much like a life-size man bat thing is what Gary Oldman basically is.
It's almost like that's his feeding form.
Yeah.
Like when he's feeding, because he's full on feeding when we see him with her in the crypt and everything.
Yeah.
Like that's hey,
and there's one scene
I'm
out
eating.
there's that one scene outside with him in that form too. That's one of the scenes that sticks with me from when I was a kid. Like somebody's like walking outside and then he just like pops down.
Oh,
at
really?
him in the like the batty form. I'm pretty
I don't
sure,
remember
man.
that.
Unless my mind's completely invented it, but it seems way too like real in my mind that I'm sure it's part of the movie. It's been a while since I watched it. We actually, when Hayden and I were in Mexico, we stumbled on it on TV, which is then fun because then it's all in Spanish.
Yeah.
But then also they have like that stupid motion blurring shit on the TV, so it just looked like a telenovela. So at first I wasn't even sure, like until Gary Oldman showed up. I'm like, what the fuck is this, man? And I was also quite intoxicated.
A little bit inebriated.
But then when Gary Oldman showed up, I'm like, God, this is the Dracula movie. But I'm like, it looks so terrible. But I'm like, oh, it's the motion blurring and stuff. But yeah, I didn't watch that far because, I was far too gone to give it any attention that it deserved. So, and then it says Salem's Lot starring Lewis Pullman, Mackenzie Lee, Bill Camp, Alfred Woodard, William Sadler, Pilo Asbeck, Spencer Treat, Clark, John Benjamin Hickey will be in theaters this fall on September 9th, 2022. So just in the same month as King's 75th birthday, we'll be getting Mr. Barlow and his.
So we got a date.
Yeah. I don't even remember if we've had a date before.
I think we have. I just forget.
As I was saying, I did highlight that because I was like, I wanted to pull that out just in case we hadn't had that date before. But yeah, that's sounds like a lot of fun. But yeah, Mark, I definitely I with vampires, I'm open to any kind, but I do love the classic Dracula type thing. Just kind of the whatever. I don't know, just like the rich, weird, reclusive guy that dresses funny and but then
people go missing.
People go missing pretty much. So next up is a fun one, and it is a Simon and Schuster reveals the King's next book, and this was kind of interesting.
Ooh, fairy tale?
How this happened. So it pretty much just hit Simon & Schuster's website, and then like the next day EW had an article. So I'm kind of thinking that somebody at Simon & Schuster fucked up because it was just not. Normally it's like you have the big EW thing and it's the big reveal, whatever, and it didn't. It just randomly showed up on their website, and so the next day the EW article dropped, and I'm like, did the EW article, was that supposed to drop that day, or did they drop because Simon & Schuster leaked it the day before on accident?
They called up Simon & Schuster and like, so we were supposed to wait like a month. Are we good now? They're like, yeah, Joe got fired for it.
Yeah. So for this from Simon & Schuster's website, it's called Fairy Tale. This is the cover. I obviously
we got like a wolf there.
I believe it's a dog. And is there not a little bit of an eye look going on here?
Oh yeah. But those are stairs going down.
Yeah.
Interesting.
All I'm going to say is all hail the Crimson King.
Again, villain.
And so now from their website, I just grabbed all this information from them, from the section they have that says about the book. It says legendary storyteller Stephen King goes deep into the well of his imagination, which is funny considering the image here.
Yeah.
In this spellbinding novel about a 17-year-old boy who inherits the keys to a parallel world where good and evil are at war, and the stakes could not be higher for their world or ours.
Please tell me that's Gilead.
I mean, who knows?
Dude.
There's some. I mean, just the Eye of the Crimson King kind of look that we got on the cover. And it says Charlie Reed, and I have to just pause here and say, if it is Midworld, Charlie is not a very great name because Char means death. So Charlie Reed looks like a regular high school kid, great at baseball and football, a decent student, but he carries a heavy load. His mom was killed in a hit-and-run accident when he was 10, and grief drove his dad to drink. Charlie learned how to take care of himself and his dad. Then when Charlie is 17, he meets a dog named Radar and his aging master, Howard Bowditch, a reclusive big house in a reclusive big house on the top of a big hill with a locked shed in the backyard. Sometimes strange sounds emerge from it. And then going on here, it says Charlie starts doing jobs for Mr. Bowditch and loses his heart to Radar. Then when Bowditch dies, he leaves Charlie a cassette tape telling a story no one would believe. What Bowditch knows and has kept secret all his long life is that inside the shed is a portal to another world. King's storytelling and fairy tale soars. This magnificent and terrifying tale about another world than ours, which is hard to say because that is very similar to something we know.
Go then, and there are other worlds than these.
Yeah, but it's another, so that throws me off because my brain just wants to make it other worlds than these or other worlds than ours. But no, it's another world than ours, which just doesn't work. Again, though, it makes me wonder. Is that
a play off of a line that we all know and love?
And it says, in which good is pitted against an overwhelming evil, and a heroic boy and his dog must lead the battle. Early in the pandemic, King asked himself, what could you write that would make you happy? And then this is a quote from King, and he says, as if my imagination had been waiting for the question to be asked, I saw a vast deserted city, deserted but alive. I saw the empty streets, the haunted buildings, a gargoyle head lying overturned in the streets. I saw smashed statues of what I didn't know, but I eventually found out. I saw a huge sprawling palace with glass towers so high that their tips pierced the clouds. Saw a magic sundial that could turn back time. Those images released this story that I wanted to tell. So that's a straight quote from King there. So yeah, very interesting. From the product details, another big thing that's, of course, something we want to know. Yeah. Published, it says Scribner, September 6th, 2022. So
September's a busy month for us.
3 days before Salem's Lot comes out.
It's going to be a busy month for us in September.
Yeah.
We got that. We got Bev's book, and then we have Salem's Lot. All right. What else are we stacking? Is Firestarter coming out in September?
And then another thing, page count.
Okay.
Length, 608 pages.
Ooh.
I like that.
Between Salem's Lot and the lengthier ones.
Yeah, I mean 600. That's a hardy book. So I'm very happy about that. Because again, later my biggest gripe with it wasn't long enough.
More.
I would have loved to have just added 200-300 pages to that book because I was fucking loving the hell out of that book. So
yeah,
yeah.
Off that description, I just went and pre-ordered it on Audible. I used a credit and pre-ordered it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's I'm going to have to make sure to plan my September so that Fairy Tale started that day.
Yeah, and then also, so EW, the next day I already mentioned, they have an article that has an excerpt from the book. But as we've done in the past, I'm not going to read it, but I will have it in the show notes. I always just find it kind of let people read it themselves.
I'm not reading it. That goes against my trailer policy.
But there are a few things from it that after reading it that I want to point out.
Okay. Wait. Do I want to know?
You do. I mean, you have to.
Do I have to?
Yes.
But what if I just want to read the book?
So I read the thing just to kind of get an idea of it. First of all, the very first thing I noticed is very uniquely it is written in first person.
That doesn't happen very often for King.
No, not at all. In general, it doesn't happen a lot, but definitely not for King.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of authors don't write that way because it's so limiting. Yeah. So yeah, that's one thing that jumped out. And then I have two small excerpts from the very end of the thing that they have that I had to share. First one, it says, the sky was gray, but the field was bright red.
Get
Poppies spread in a gorgeous blanket stretching left and right as far as I could see. A path led through the flowers towards a road. On the far side of the road, more poppies and maybe a mile to the thick woods, making me think of a forest that had grown up in my suburban town. So I pulled a picture of a poppy field. Just figured, why not take a look at what we're alluding to here. And then the last, very last thing that it has of this thing says, I looked to the far horizon and saw a skyline of a great city. Daylight reflected hazily from its highest towers as if they were made of glass, green glass. I had read The Wizard of Oz, I had seen the movie, and I knew an Emerald City when I saw one.
book 4.
There's a lot to that. There's a lot. This is actually kind of a longer excerpt, but I only grabbed a couple things because I have to bring them up. It's a Dark Tower podcast. We have to at least bring that up. I'm not bringing it up to because again, I always like to leave those tastes for people to read themselves, but I had to cover those because those are very, very provocative.
That sounds like where Flag's hiding at the end of book 4.
Well, I'm not also exactly. You got the Emerald City.
Yeah.
I mean, the Red Field is, I mean, all I can say is if this is all a coincidence and this has no connection to the Dark Tower, this is one hell of a fucking number of coincidences, man. There's a lot going on here. Even like you said, the wording on that definitely made me think with another world than ours.
Then there's other worlds than these.
Yeah, and then the cover kind of felt Eye of the Crimson King. But ultimately,
if that was red instead of blue, I'd be all over it. But it being blue, just kind of okay, maybe not. But
well, the eye itself
I can
doesn't
see where you're coming from with the eye, though. So.
And the eye doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be complete. Like if it was just the Eye of the Crimson King painted on a blue wall, it would just be red on a blue wall. So.
Right, and there is red there. So.
And yeah, I don't know. I'm just what are your thoughts?
I'm so excited.
My first thoughts were the talisman was the first thing before I dove deep into what they actually wrote,
which is a level of the tower.
Yeah, when I saw Fairy Tale, and it says when I read the very first thing, it's like he's a high school kid, but and then it says going to another world or whatever it was. That there's just a quick sentence that I read where I'm like, oh, it feels very much like Talisman, you know. But then as I read this whole thing though, and I started I'm like, dude, there's some stuff in here that makes me wonder because there's a lot of interesting things. But ultimately, this is King. We covered it a couple months ago. Someone asked him in an interview about what he was working on, what he had coming up next, and he says, I've got something, but I'm not ready to share it right now. This has to be it. So. Yeah.
Bring it. Oh, I'm so ready.
Well, you already have it pre-ordered. So.
I just went and spent my only credit that I had saved up. I just went and pre-ordered it. I don't care. That's, yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, very excited. So what do you, let's speculations here. What do you?
I'm telling you, I think it's what's happened. How did Flag get to that Emerald City? Why does it have all that stuff there? Where did it come from? I think Flag took it. It's from a fallen civilization. Maybe it's Lud. Maybe it's not. I don't know. Dude, if it's Gilead, and this is him fighting on the side of Gilead and everything like that,
yeah,
dude, could you imagine the absolute jaw-dropping moment if he goes in and he goes to fight and he fights alongside Farson?
Yeah,
and we get the Battle of Jericho Hill, and he's on Farson's side, and he thinks that they're the good guys because they're fighting for democracy.
Yeah, and imagine if King did approach that, the Jericho Hill thing. What if he did approach that in this way, where it was just take a random character and give. Mm-hmm. And the other thing I did think of too was 11/22/63. You know, you've got a guy that kind of is sitting on
a thing,
something that's otherworldly, but rather than transporting someone to the past, you're transporting them to another world.
Mm-hmm. There is time travel in this, it mentioned as well.
Yeah,
there's a sundial that can turn back time.
Now there was something I should have grabbed it. I saw it very, very late. But it was basically Barnes and Noble. I think had let's see if I can find it here. Barnes and Noble had something posted, and their thing was a little bit different. Let me see if I can find this Fairy Tale Yeah, and there was somebody had a comment because they Barnes & Noble changed it very quickly to match this thing, but they did have something. Let me find this comment here that somebody posted because it was very let's see if I can find it here. Yeah, a bunch of people's talking about Jack and Wolf. People are talking about Jake and Oi. Let's see. Let me find it here. There's something that was made someone think of Farson. Oh, that was I can't find it now. But there was something that Barnes & Noble had posted. It was something that was like kind of like the Another World Than Ours.
Yeah.
And it was something that kind of made people think maybe it was Farson related. So I don't know, man. I'm not gonna like keep my hopes up high but honestly here it goes. I found it. Another slightly different synopsis, and he gives a link, but it links straight to Barnes & Noble, and when I clicked on it, they have the one that's from this Scribner thing now, or the Simon & Schuster thing, so it's now matching, but it says I'm hoping that, quote, the fair one is a certain villain that we ken well. So apparently the Barnes & Noble one mentioned a villain or mentioned someone named the fair one. And fair one, Farson, like, fair one, good man. Like, it just feels like there might be something. And like I said, Barnes & Noble very quickly changed that because this guy's comment said that it was different, and then but I wish he would have just copied it and pasted, because now it's a dead link. But the fact is, there's something that was mentioned, fair one, in the Barnes & Noble thing. So yeah, I'm very interested. And what if King gave us the Dark Tower story, but did it in a way that was, because wouldn't that be just like him?
That would be so amazing.
Because every Dark Tower story is very different from the others. And so what better way than to do like, hey, I'm going to take a 11/22/63 talisman, almost Mr. Harrigan's phone, kind of with a kid and an old guy that dies.
Leaves him a message.
You get all these things and combine them together to then bring a kid into
the Battle of the Fall of Gilead and the Battle of Jericho Hill.
What if, man?
Yeah.
What if? I mean, the thing is we're just so biased. Because, like, what was it? The Institute we thought would certainly be Dark Tower related. I'm trying to think of what else it was. We've had a couple new ones where we're like, this could be related. But that's always going to be our thought process, though, is to be immediately thinking of that.
Everything is the level of the tower. We know this.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of how close, or, how high up is it?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I remember thinking that with the Institute. We're like, oh, it's beam breakers and stuff. So very interesting. Very interesting to see what we will be seeing with this book here in September.
Yeah.
That you already have pre-ordered. That's good. So yeah, I'll have the show notes. I'll have a link to the EW article. Basically, the EW article, the whole top half is everything I read from the Simon & Schuster website, and then the very bottom half of it is the excerpt from the book that you could read to kind of get a vibe. Like I said, though, the first person thing is the thing that really jumped out at me. I was like, whoa,
interesting.
That's weird, because you don't read a lot of first person books. So. Very interesting. I'd have to I think King's done first person before, but
I know he has. There's a first person story in Skeleton Crew.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah. So let's go ahead. So then, of course, like I said, the poppy field.
Yeah.
And honestly, I don't think I've ever seen a poppy before. Like, I've always heard like poppies, poppy seeds, opium, but like I don't think I've ever actually seen a plant before. So I was like, red. I'm like,
oh, you had to have.
No, when I Googled it, I was like, are poppies red? And I Googled it.
There's different colored poppies, though.
Yeah, but the book is, or the excerpt there is clearly saying red. So when I Googled poppy field, this is kind of some of the images that came up looked like this. So yeah, I was definitely like, oh, CanCon Array. Very, very interesting. But as Mark said, cannot wait. Very much excited to read this. And then, I mean, honestly, King just keeps writing, and it's always good.
Hook it to my veins.
Yeah, it's like he's always writing. Who knows? He probably will never stop. But I mean, hopefully he doesn't. But
I'm gonna get a tattoo of Stephen King at a desk with a word processor with a cord going down, having it hook up to my brain.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you got monkeys and stuff though. You'd have to be careful of. He's very good with those. Creep Show and the symbol monkey and
Stop it.
You wouldn't want to be plugged into him. It's all I'm saying. It'd be terrifying.
I want everything that King writes just to be instantly given to me. I want it. I want it all.
So that will be according to our list, which there's a lot of other things that you probably have to take into account. But our list has Billy Summers at 75, the 75th. But I know there's things like I don't think Gwendy's is on our thing because I was looking at that because I was kind of thinking about, okay, I need to make sure I'm going to add Fairy Tale. But then I thought about Gwendy's, that third Gwendy book, and I was like, wait, do I have the first one? And we don't. So we got to figure out how we're going to do that with our overall list. But as we get closer, we'll add that to our extended quartet list. We'll add this one, and but the Gwendy one is coming up next month, so that's coming much sooner. Next up, another big thing here. Blumhouse Television sets Stephen King's novel Later for limited series to star Lucy Liu.
Lucy Liu, all right.
And Rael Tucker's scripted pilot. So this is by Mike Fleming Jr. from Deadline on January 25th, 2022. You know what's funny is I swear to God, we talked about this last episode. We're like, how is, like, because I don't think Billy Summers or Later has been nabbed yet for adaptations. Did we mention it last time where it's like, because it was like the Institute was, we got an announcement for that
before the book came out,
before it published. It was like, which is not uncommon. I mean, Spielberg got Jurassic Park before it published and stuff. It's common. But I remember with Institute, I think we were like a week out from it being released, and we got the article that it was picked up for adaptation. So I remember last episode mentioning it's kind of weird that Later and Billy Summers haven't been announced yet. Because we assume, in this day and age, everyone wants to adapt everything Stephen King.
It's the golden age of King.
Yeah, if he were to sign a check at a restaurant, someone would want to adapt that signature. So, funny. Next episode now, here we are, and it looks like Blumhouse is on it. So it says exclusive Blumhouse Television has landed the rights to turn Stephen King's best-selling novel Later into a limited series star vehicle for Lucy Liu. Series creator Rael Tucker wrote the pilot script. Published in March 2021 by Hard Case Crimes. Later centers on Tia, a literary agency owner who is raising her son Jamie alone and finds herself on the brink of professional ruin when her star author client dies before turning out the work that will make her agency financially whole. Jamie has a supernatural ability to talk to the dead, all of whom tell him the truth. This is very helpful when he talks to the dead author and feeds the content of the book to his mother, who writes it herself and publishes it under the author's name to great success. But this gift can be used for more nefarious purposes. Tia's police detective girlfriend figures out what the boy can do, and soon the youth gets over his head in the spirit world, as Danny Torrance did in King's The Shining.
Hey,
that's a good cut.
Yeah.
Tucker was an Emmy nominated for her work on HBO's True Blood, and she collaborated with Blumhouse Television on the anthology series Sacred Lies and Sacred Lies: The Singing Bones, which starred Juliette Lewis and Jordan Alexander for Facebook Watch, which I have never heard of before.
Oh, yeah?
I'm like, what the fuck is Facebook Watch? So I Googled it. I'm like, okay, I didn't even know that existed.
Yep.
And then Liu, who starred for 7 seasons on CBS's series Elementary, most recently starred in Death to 2021 for Netflix, and next stars in the Warner Brothers DC sequel Shazam! Fury of the Gods.
Ooh.
She will also appear recently on Curb Your Enthusiasm and starred in the dark comedy series Why Women Kill. And one thing, dude, one of these days, I'm going to get you to watch at least one episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm.
No.
Dude,
No.
I would. I don't even know what episode. I haven't seen them all, but I've seen enough of it that's like, dude,
Nope.
that would be would be something to get you to watch it.
No. We're not doing it. I know why you want me to watch it, and I'm not doing it because you know I can't handle that cringe television.
Oh, man. Hey, you revealed to me not long ago that you don't skip Scott's Tots every time when you're watching. So.
That's why I don't watch The Office. It's because it has Scott's Tots and the dinner party. It's just thinking about those episodes when I go to turn it on. I'm like, nope. Not doing it.
Oh, man. I just had to mention that with Curb Your Enthusiasm. It's a goal of mine now. The next up, we have a quote from King. He says, I've wanted to work with Jason Blum for years, and now we have 2 projects together, King said. Go me.
What's the other one?
And then the article, because I thought the same thing. The article picks up. It says Blumhouse separately is producing an adaptation for Netflix, Mr. Harrigan's Phone.
Oh, right.
One of the stories in King's anthology novel, If It Bleeds. Production just finished with John Lee Hancock directing, Donald Sutherland, and Jaden Martell starring. So, of course, Blumhouse doing a lot of great stuff with horror right now. And then Blumhouse founder / CEO, Jason Blum, responded, I wanted to work with Stephen King since before I was born, which sounds impossible until you remember that it's Stephen King.
Yeah.
It's like, I like you, Jason. That's good. I like that.
That's really good.
And then said Tucker, later is terrifying and touching and wonderfully weird. Of course it is. It's Stephen King. Adapting one of my favorite writers of all time with an incredible partner like Blumhouse is, and the incomparable Lucy Liu is a dream come true. So, yeah, that sounds fun. I like I said, later, I fucking loved it, man. Like we talked about it in the last episode. We drool all over it, but now Chris is getting on it here. Peter, you can't go too far wrong with the first episode of Curb. Not too cringe, but hysterically funny. It'll give you a feel, and you could stop there.
No. I've seen enough clips from Curb to know I'm never going to enjoy a single episode of that show.
But the thing is, I would enjoy you not enjoying it.
That's not enough for me to do it. You'd have to give me a lot of incentives to do it. I can tell you right now, you don't have enough money.
Oh man,
I can't stand stuff like that. I can't. I watched my cousin Vinny today, off of your recommendation yesterday on the Hangout and everything, and there were scenes in there that I was like, this is so awkward.
well, I remember back in the day, like closer to like the first portion of our friendship, the one that was big with you was Ben Stiller, because most of his shtick is kind of super awkward. I mean, it was that was right in the era of like
Zoolander and Dodgeball,
Meet the Parents.
Meet the Parents. There's a reason I don't watch Meet the Parents and everything.
What about Mystery Men?
It's not as bad.
That one gets pretty awkward at times.
It's not as bad.
Especially the Ben Stiller stuff. He's pretty awkward in that.
No, it's not as bad as Meet the Parents. Meet the Parents is so bad. Oh, it's
when he
so
spikes
bad.
that ball and
Yeah.
breaks the bride's nose like the day before her wedding. Oh man, yeah, Peter.
I have nipples, Greg. Can you milk me?
I was just thinking about that line recently. I don't know why.
God. No.
Oh, I think it was one day I was getting a haircut. I think they must have been playing the sequel. I think
Meet the
that has Barbara Streisand. I
Yeah.
think I don't even know if I've seen it, but I saw like Ben Stiller and Robert De Niro, and I'm like, oh, this must be Meet the Parents. Then I saw I saw Dustin Hoffman. I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't remember Dustin Hoffman. I'm like, oh, this must be the second one or whatever.
Yeah, it's
And
where
then
you
that's
meet his parents.
And that's what made me think of that line. I've got nipples, Greg. Can you milk me?
So bad.
I wish I could have been there when you watched The Office for the first time. I wish I could have been in the room when the dinner party because I've been there for you when there's been awkward things like I came to the realization last year the way you handle that is the same way that like Hayden handles horror movies. Like
I hide.
Yeah,
I'm not kidding. Like for the people
like-
on YouTube, I full on do this.
yeah, you completely cover your
I
face.
put my face in my shirt and then cover my shirt with my hands. I can't handle that particular style of humor. I've never seen Zoolander.
Yeah,
I've only seen parts of it. Caught a clip here or two on YouTube. It's been mentioned on top 10 lists of like funny scenes and stuff like that. And I'm just like, I can't watch this. Like it's hard for me. I love Dodgeball. I thought that was a hilarious movie.
Yeah.
Ben Stiller in that drives me up the fucking wall just because it's so cringe.
I'm not the biggest fan of his overall. Mystery Man is a timeless classic for me, though. It's one of my all-time favorite movies. It's so good, dude.
Go for yourself,
dude. Yeah, I mean, and I was thinking about it recently because I just started watching ER for the first time ever. And William H. Macy's in it. I didn't know that.
Oh,
but
he's in ER.
Yeah, he's like one of the top dog doctors that everyone else kind of works under, and like. I realize, like, I cannot see. He's been in a lot of things, and he has done a lot of great things. He's a great actor, but he will always be the shoveler to me. Like when I see William H. Macy, I'm like, he shovels well. He shovels very well. Like that's all I can. Like that is always going to be the base thing for him, even though he is a fucking genius actor that's done some incredible work in a lot of movies. He'll always be the shoveler to me. So,
Should we do? Where would William H. Macy fit in the tower?
God. I could see him being a Jack Mort.
Yeah,
couldn't you see that?
I could.
Like because he is not generally he's generally kind of more of a wholesome guy, but I think he could play a total creep. Like
probably,
and it would be against type. But like I could see him being like just think of like I don't know. Yeah, I could see him doing that.
Callahan.
Okay. Yeah, I mean that's the thing is like the hard part for me is the shovelers in my head.
Oh, dude, make him what's the big rancher's name in Wolves of the Kala?
Overhoser.
Overhoser.
Yeah.
Like the big dog, the big one. Big
Yeah.
old mustache and everything like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's sure. I didn't throw out a dream casting, but you're just throwing one out here. But
There
yeah,
you go.
I would say I could see him as a Jack Mort though. I could see him being just this absolute fucking lunatic creeper that, and I could see him playing that scene perfectly where, like, he's in the elevator and like he does look normal from the outside, but there's something off about him.
When you get within 10 feet of him, you
Like-
feel uncomfortable.
Like I always think of what I always call that. I think is the perfect way to encapsulate that in a nutshell is Patrick Bateman.
oh yeah.
Like Patrick Bateman, like honestly, a lot of times that's what I think of when I'm thinking of Jack Mort. It's Patrick Bateman, because Patrick Bateman, like, I mean, the whole way that movie's presented, like everyone's kind of not reacting to him. But like if that movie were like 100% realistic and everyone reacted to like the way he actually acted, people would give him kind of that Jack Mort, like, I'm going to give you a wide berth, man. I'm not talking to you.
That's where you cross the road and everything like that to walk on the other side of the road from him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's always kind of like that encapsulates it. But I think William H. Macy could pull that off. Chris says Gasher for William H. Macy.
Run, my young cully.
Yeah, I could, dude. He's just such a genius actor. I could see him doing a lot of things. But
Yeah.
I could see him doing that for sure. Yeah, I love it, man. He's a great actor. I'm trying to think, what was he in Fargo? I'm trying to think.
Yeah.
Because
He was the one that hired him.
did he? Yeah, because is that the only time he's done? Because Coen Brothers use a lot of repeat actors. I'm trying to think, has he only ever done that with them? I don't know. He's a great actor though. But yeah, Mystery Men tangent there. So moving on, that's the end of the news section.
I literally type in William H. Macy on IMDb and it says Fargo. Like,
Okay, yeah.
Even before you click on his name, like that's what he's known for.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I guess that, I mean, of course, the terrible Jurassic Park 3 is William H. Macy.
Alan.
Oh, God. I watch that every once in a while just to, like, remind myself why the third one's a terrible movie.
Didn't I just put it up on your social media?
You
the
may
other day?
have, but I do it randomly to myself, too, or I'll just look it up. I'm like, let me just watch the most horrific thing that's ever been put to film. And not in a good way. Not like horror movies or anything. So to the odds and ends, we have some Uncle Stevie recommends. The first one here, he tweeted and says, I just saw the first episode of From, and this is Epics, premiering 2/20, so February 20th.
Holy shit, he was in Nightmare and Dreamscapes from the stories of Stephen King.
Oh, yeah?
Clyde Umney, Sam Landry, and George Demick in 2006. Oh, okay, so he's already been in King's works.
All right.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's all right. So King says he's seen the first episode of From, which is going to be on Epics on February 20th. He says, I was absolutely riveted. True edgier seat stuff, believable and scary as hell.
Ooh.
So I don't know what that is, but it is now on my radar. Thank you to Stephen King. Chris says he's the dad in Shameless. Incredible. I've heard a lot about Shameless. I haven't actually seen it, though.
I haven't either.
I mean... he's great though, Mr. William H. Macy. And like I said, I was just watching ER and like the first episode, and like his name popped up in the credits. I'm like, William H. Macy.
Like, wait, what? What's the shoveler doing here?
There's a lot of people that showed up in that. I mean, Kirsten Dunst is in it all of a sudden.
Oh, is she?
She's like 14. Yeah, it's weird because it's like kind of a who's who for the 90s. But yeah, it's
Isn't Clooney in ER?
Yeah, that's where he got his start, I think. I mean, he may have done some stuff before that, but that's what made him a star. But yeah, I'm enjoying it. But yeah, William H. Macy was definitely a surprise for me. I knew Clooney was in. That's about all I knew. It's like I know it's set in ER, and I know George Clooney's in it. That's all I knew going in. But yeah, but I'm definitely loving it. Next up, King also, and this one maybe feels a little bit. What do you call it? Nepotism, I guess, a tiny bit. But it's the original tweet is from his son, Joe Hill, and King retweeted it saying, "Get it? Deeply scary shit." And then the original tweet from his son, Joe Hill, says, "So my friend Scott Derrickson and I'm blanking on the guy's name now. Basically, it's the writer that has done all Scott Derrickson's work. So Doctor Strange, Sinister, and they were both on the second Doctor Strange and then left it to do this movie. So C. Roger Cargill or something like that. I'm going by memory. It's a guy I follow on Twitter.
Okay.
But his screen name is not his real thing. It says, made a brilliant movie out of my short story, The Black Phone, out this summer. That story first appeared in my collection, 20th Century Ghosts, which has been re-released with a new title and cover in stores now. And then it has the cover there with the Ethan Hawke character, which I know some people hate that, like movie tie-in stuff, but I, for one, have not got it yet. I'm actually less of a fan of, though, is the title change. Because I bought the So I Heard You Paint Houses, which is the one that inspired The Irishman, and it's been in my library for a couple of years now, and they changed the title on that, so now in my library it says The Irishman is the title, and I'm like, I don't like that. I like the original title better. But yeah, it's just on Audible, but so that's another Stephen King recommends, is go ahead and grab that. It's now called The Black Phone Stories. It's in stores now, and that's the Joe Hill short story one that has the black phone in it, which I'd be interested, because like I said, I've only read Nosferatu, and I really enjoyed the hell out of it. So I'd be interested to read more of him. Maybe short stories is a good in to hit up before I jump into The Fireman, which is the other one that I own. And then Chris says you won't regret it, and you'll see him as Gasher. So that for Shameless. Yeah, I'll have to check that out. Like I said, I know that's one I've heard some hype about, so I'll have to give it a look-see. So next up, we've got the Palaver section. Got the fun little screen here. So first of all, so you, Peter, are now reading Skeleton Crew.
Yeah, so I came to the end of If It Bleeds with Holly and realized I didn't have anything planned. I had done Mr. Mercedes, Finders Keepers, what's the other thing?
End of Watch.
End of Watch.
Did you do The Outsider then?
The Outsider. Okay. If It Bleeds. I did all of those.
You did the whole Holly Gibney.
I did the whole Holly Gibney pantheon. I wanted to do it all, and it really helped with If It Bleeds.
How do you picture her now?
How do I picture her?
She's been adapted twice, so I'm just curious.
I still picture her as the one from Mr. Mercedes.
Okay, and is that... I mean, we read it before that came out. How did you originally picture her?
I pictured her exactly like
Pretty
that.
much the same. Okay.
That's why is because that's how I pictured her before.
Okay.
I mean, that's how they describe her. You know,
certainly. Yeah.
And everything. So,
I think they do describe her being a little bit older, though, like in terms of gray hair and different things. Like, I think they aged her down a bit for the show. Yeah. But, yeah.
So, I didn't have anything to read, so I threw it in our Patreon Discord. I said, guys, what should I read? Here are the three options. I left it up to them. And Skeleton Crew won.
Which is a great collection of short
especially
stories.
Since with what it starts with is The Mist.
Yeah.
Which I've never read.
I actually forgot about that. Like, the thing is like in my head, like the Skeleton Crew is probably one of his best. And it's not even because of The Mist. It's just because what's in there in general is so great. Yeah. But yeah, The Mist, that's definitely a good, fun one. So what did you think?
So before I dive into The Mist, so far I've gotten through about 8 hours. It's The Mist, Here There Be Tigers, The Monkey, Cain Rose Up, and Miss Todd's Shortcut is the one I'm currently on. So, obviously, from our discussion yesterday and everything, it has come to my realization I don't like monkeys. I think that's where my beastie thing came from. And you mentioned it earlier a little bit, and I'm going to dive into it, is Congo really traumatized me as a kid. So Tad's talking about getting a symbol monkey, and so I made the rule, no monkeys. As you can see behind me, no, I'm not a fan. Like, I don't react. Like, I go to the zoo and I see monkeys, I don't react, but I'm not a fan of beastie monkeys.
Yeah.
Creepy monkeys, killer monkeys.
What do you think of the monkey short story?
It was good. Scary as hell.
Yeah.
Terrifying to think about and everything. Like the implications of it and everything. But the big one, obviously, I mean, right off the bat, it's Skeleton Crew started off, it's The Mist.
The Mist, yeah.
Good God. I've seen the movie. I absolutely hate Mrs. Carmody. She is by far the worst Stephen King character he has ever written.
That didn't even connect in my mind when, like, you were talking about reading The Mist. Like, it didn't even, for some reason, didn't click. The two wires didn't touch in my brain where I was just, like, to realize that Mrs. Carmody. I just thought, oh, yeah, Mist. Like, great. And, like, in my head, I thought of, like, what instantly comes to mind are, like, the changes, that Darabont made and, like,
the ending and
and there, there's the kind of a love scene in the middle of the short story where he sleeps with this random lady for some unknown. I think that's terrible. It's like, Darabont did a good thing by cutting that out.
I'm glad I wasn't the only one that I'm like,
Yeah, Dar,
Really, dude?
yeah,
Like-
exactly. It's like you don't know anything. Like, yeah, like definitely rubbed me the wrong way.
Yeah.
With Mr. Drayton, right?
Yeah.
I forget his first name, but
Todd? No.
no, I know Drayton's his last name, but yeah. Yeah. Overall, though, that definitely struck me as like I'm so glad Darabont cut that out. And then the ending. So, what did you think? I mean, yeah. So, I guess all that came to my mind first, and for some reason, Mrs. Carmody didn't connect. So, yeah, I'm glad. So, overall, what's your thoughts?
There was one part of it that was absolutely more terrifying because of the change that Darabont made. The story was more terrifying for me because Mrs. Carmody was older. I think that's more terrifying that she's an elderly person, because when she's young, like in the movie, it's a little bit more, hey, I'll still fight you, physically. I'll put you on your ass if you're trying to come after my kid, that kind of thing. I'll
Yeah.
put you down. But when it's an elderly person, like it is in the short story, where it's a crotchety old lady,
Yeah.
kind of witch kind of feeling, old and decrepit and everything like that. That's where you're gonna get those people that are gonna be like, well, I mean, she's a crazy old lady, I can't do anything to her.
yeah.
That made it just a little bit worse for me with her, like how bad she scares me, and that's one of the reasons why I hate her so much. Is she's just, God, she's evil.
Yeah. Yeah. Marcia Gay Harden is the actress that plays Mrs. Carmody.
She's so good.
She
She did. She not again. Not a knock on her. Not saying like she's she's terrible because she's younger or anything like that. It's just she's absolutely horrifying in the movie, but in the book that just made it a little bit more like, ooh, that's a new dynamic to think about. Like, how are you going to muscle your way? Bulldoze an old woman kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because there's that element in the short story where her first followers are young women.
Yeah.
And it's, them turning to an elder figure, kind
Yeah.
of thing. It's just like if they had if they were trapped in the grocery store and there happened to be a Father Callahan figure.
Yeah.
You're going to turn to a kind of a seasoned veteran, an older gentleman, and
Yeah.
he's going to be able to lead you. And that's what they did, is they turned to Miss Carmody, and that's what happened, And so the short story was great. I don't hate the ending.
No.
I don't. I think it's fantastic. I love that it's kind of like this one is
It's ambiguous.
this one's first person. The Mist is first person.
Yeah.
So you get it from David Drayton, by the way, is his name.
Okay.
You get it from David's perspective, and I love that. I love that it's the idea is that you're coming into that. I think it's a hotel where you find his note, his story about, hey, this is what we went through. This is where we're at.
Yeah.
I don't know where we're going to end up, but this is our story, and that is not a bad ending.
No, and I don't think I've ever perceived or categorized it as a bad ending, but I do think the Darabont's is better. Like,
Darabont's is fantastic.
like,
it's way.
I guess it's
way
I guess it's kind of like the whole Shining conversation of like the book versus Kubrick's movie
Sure.
is like whatever, and I think this is the same kind of way for me where it's like Darabont versus King when it comes to the ending of The Mist. Like, it's only a matter of I think that Darabont's is 100 times better. Not to say that King's is bad. It's just that Darabont's is fucking like out of this world good, like just brilliant, and bleak as fuck. But like, yeah, and that's I guess that's one of those things I don't think I've ever prefaced to say that like I don't think King's is bad necessarily.
Yeah.
It's just very different, and not as good as Darabont's, but yeah, certainly not bad.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like you're saying, you didn't preface it and everything like Darabont's is so amazing. It's so good. It's so much better than the one in the story. So that instantly in my head, just instantly triggers, oh, the book one must be terrible. Like the story's terrible. I say book, sorry. I mean, I mean short story.
Yeah,
Novella.
novella.
The novella must be terrible, but it's really not. For me. And Chris says in the chat, Peter now has to watch Midnight Mass. I absolutely have that one on my radar. I really do have it on my radar.
I'm definitely looking forward to you watching it.
I'm bogged down with Mr. Mercedes. I'm in season 2 of Mr. Mercedes, and I'm bogged down with it. And dude, I got an itching to go watch The Outsider on HBO.
That's
I do.
It's a good watch. Now, I do have to point out the weirdest thing for me about Mrs. Carmody is it is Mrs. Carmody and not Ms. Carmody.
Mm-hmm.
So she's married.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Or at
strange.
least she
Or
was.
was married.
Yeah.
Yeah. But as I Google her, because I Googled to find the actor or who played actor wise, couple articles. I'm not going to read them, but one of them here from Screen Rant: How the Mist ending proves Mrs. Carmody was right. A Reddit post, theory on Mrs. Carmody. Oh no, theory on Mrs. Carmody. Another Reddit post: Was Mrs. Carmody right in the Mist? Seems like there's a lot of questions and or or not accusations. There's a lot of people maybe floating that Mrs. Carmody was right.
No.
I just want to know how you feel about that.
No.
Well, she's right in terms of staying in the store.
Yeah, she's right about staying in the store.
Well, in King's version, though, not so much, because we don't really, because that is the part of Darabont's, though, is that, like, King's leaves it way bleak. You don't know. Like, it's ambiguous. Whereas,
It's
like,
true.
Darabont gives you the most horrific shit and puts Drayton, basically kills him, like, mentally, blows his fucking mind. Like, but then it resolves the Mist shit. Like, so, if nothing, Darabont's is both brutal, but at the same time, it also gives you a little bit of hope. In fact, that like, cool, they contained it. So, like, Tad in Utah doesn't have to worry about like the mist would have reached me.
Drayton had one of the most horrific experiences that a parent / father / husband can have.
Yeah.
With everything. But the world's okay.
Yeah.
King's doesn't give you
No,
that.
King's like
So when you're looking at
Yeah.
which one's worse when you look at it on a bigger scale, King's ending is actually way more bleak.
Oh yeah, absolutely, because it literally could be the end of the world. Like it probably is. Like it just like
Yeah, you
that's how
might have humans surviving in bunkers, and we don't go out in the mist. We can't go out in the mist.
Yeah.
Unless you go out in a hazmat suit where they can't smell you, then you're going to be okay. But because that's the thing with the novella is that it's scent
Yeah.
is why they get got when they leave the store, is that the monsters smell them.
Yeah.
But the movie, Frank Darabont's ending gives you that's so terrible for him. Well, anyway, the world moves on, and and we're going to continue spinning, and that's a crazy event that happened. Holy hell! I wonder if the government's going to try and cover it up, or is this going to become common knowledge? That kind of thing and everything. Oh, it absolutely would be covered up.
Be covered up. There's no way it wouldn't be. Now
there was less. There was less with the soldiers in the novella than in the.
Yeah, Darabont did expand that a bit.
Yeah.
Now the thing I would say is you probably need to go and rewatch it now. Having the novella in your mind, it's really interesting to go and watch, because I think it really makes it stark in terms of how true Darabont was to the novella. Of course, people can point to the ending or the couple small changes, but overall, dude, it's like even like the description of the spiders in the other store, like, dude, that's almost exactly how King describes them, is how Darabont puts it on the screen. Like, because I remember right after I finished the novella, I threw the movie on. I'm like, I haven't watched it in a couple years. Let me watch it now with it fresh in my mind. And I was just like, dude, cool. Yeah, there's a couple. He cut out the sleeping with the chick, which is great, because that was a shitty. That was
don't understand that.
Yeah, that wasn't. I didn't feel that. I mean, and I guess we don't know enough about the character. Maybe he is just kind of a douchebag, philanderer, whatever you want to call it.
But it's supposed to be like that. Oh God, we're all gonna die.
Yeah.
I want to have one last fuck.
Yeah, yeah. But like there's that change and there's the ending. But outside of that, dude, when you read it, it's like not only like descriptions, like the events, but there's like times where it's like word for word. Like he's taken stuff word from word from the from the novella.
I know. I haven't seen the movie for a while, but I know that Ollie was really true to the book. The actor who played him, he's in Captain America.
That plays Armin Zola.
Yeah, Armin Zola. Yeah,
yeah.
He is.
I've got it because one of the likes things here is Ollie, so I could pull it up and see the actor's name here. Toby Jones.
Yeah, he is. He played it perfectly.
So Mark points out something there in the chat. As soon as the kid died, the mist lifted. So maybe the blood sacrifice.
No, it did not. No, it did not.
Oh, Mark, you just blew my mind.
No, it did not. It's not like bang. No, that's not what happened. No, you're not spinning this. No, she was not right.
Oh man, I don't know. I've never thought of it that way. But no, it's not immediate. like the mist doesn't just like immediately vanish like Thanos' snap, but it does. Like it is not that long after that the shooting happens that the mist starts to dissipate.
No.
So, oh man, maybe that's what some of these articles saying Mrs. Carmody was right. Maybe that's what they're arguing. Oh man,
No.
Peter, you're not going to accept it, huh?
No.
But what about other stories from?
Oh, the monkey.
Skeleton
The
Crew.
monkey is way more terrifying.
No, I'm saying in general, not comparing it,
Oh.
but just like what have you thought? Like
I love Here There Be Tigers.
Here There Be Tigers. I actually
That's
loved
so
that one.
short and sweet and to the point.
Yeah,
I loved it.
I really love that story a lot.
I love the kid just walking back into class, sitting down, picking up his book, and starting to read. It was just so good.
Let's see, Skeleton Crew. So then you said the monkey, because I really enjoyed that one too. Like it's one of those ones I remember, like from it being a kid. I remember like my mom having it, and just knowing that monkey was on the cover. So it's just like I always had that perception of the monkey. So actually finally reading it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Let's see, King.
And then the Kane Rose Up one is dark as hell. School shooter in his college dorm just started offing people with a rifle.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. I forgot about that one.
Is. I'm surprised that's still in print. Honestly, with the way he acted about Rage.
Yeah.
I'm honestly surprised that. But it's
Well,
short.
Yeah, I mean, at the same time, too, Rage allegedly inspired a couple real events. So,
Oh, supposedly?
yeah, there's some
Oh.
actual people that either had that book or claimed that book was maybe something that inspired them. So,
Oh.
yeah, that definitely interested to see what you think of some of the others. You got the Jaunt coming up next. I'm
Which
excited.
is what a lot of people have said is really good.
Yeah, that one's really good. So, the monkey though, I do think of the ones you've read so far, I would love to see the monkey done as a movie. I think that'd be a great movie.
It would be intense. And why not just get Matthew Broderick? He did the reading for it. Just have him star in it.
Matthew Broderick. That's Ferris Bueller, right?
Yes.
Okay. I always get him and the guy from Better Off Dead confused for some reason.
Yeah.
And who's that? That one's Matthew Broderick and let's see,
I space on his name. John Travolta's jumping into my head, and that's so wrong. That's so wrong.
John Cusack. 1408.
John.
Yeah.
John. Okay.
Yeah, 1408.
He's also in Cell.
Yeah, Cell. Yeah. I don't know why I get those two. Maybe it's just because Ferris Bueller and Better Off Dead are just like linked in my mind. Just they always have been.
They are very similar movies. Yeah.
So not even they're like stylistically or story wise similar.
Yeah, Better Off
but
Dead has Winchester in it from
MASH.
From MASH.
Yeah. I forgot you just watched.
Sorry, your mom died, Ricky.
Sorry, your mom blew up.
Mom blew up. Yeah.
That's a great one. So loving the Skeleton Crew though, but the Mist. I'm glad you read it. Now, did you get fired up with Mrs. Carmody?
Oh yeah. The worst part was I was at work, so I couldn't really do anything. I'm gonna admit this to you. I broke a pen.
Why? On accident, or you just?
I had to write something down for work. I was writing something down, and I had to go check on something. So I was writing down what I had to go check on. It's just my memory is not what it used to be. So I was writing it down, and it was a little bit like check on this, as well as this. And I'm like, oh, okay, I need to remember this. So I was writing it down, and I got to the part where, we demand a blood sacrifice. Get the boy. And was, like you said, almost word for word, just like the movie.
Yeah.
I squeezed, and I didn't break the pen in half. I broke the part that you can like clip it to your shirt.
Like the clip. Yeah.
This part. This little doohickey on the pen.
Yeah.
Where you can like hook it to a notebook or your shirt or something like that.
Yeah.
I squeezed too hard and I snapped that off. So
far, I mean, you're not far enough in, but overall, like, you feel it's one that you'd revisit, like Skeleton Crew so far with what you've read?
I don't want to ever read Mrs. Carmody again. I don't want to put myself through that, but yes, I will. I will.
And then Chris in the chat mentioned Survivor Type still to come, which is excellent. Yeah, overall, like and I told you in the Discord, like the Mist, Here There Be Tigers, the Monkey, the Jaunt, the Raft is actually one that I really loved. Survivor Type. There's
a lot.
There's some great ones.
The one that shocked me the most about it is that you listed all those in the Discord where we were chatting about it. And that was your vote for what I should read. So you still get a vote, too. And I'm like, God, he listed like 7 or 8 of them. Like, how many are in there? I went and looked. Man, there's a lot of short.
22.
There's 22 short stories in there. I was like, holy
Especially
hell.
because up till now, your only other experience is If It Bleeds,
Which
right?
has
Which
4.
has 4. So, because that's the thing is, If It Bleeds is an outlier because of how little it has. Like,
Yeah.
up until that, I think Different Seasons was like probably the least, and that one has like 4 or 5. Like, there's not a lot in that one either. But most of them are more like this, like where there's a bunch. Like, you have at least a dozen or more. So yeah, definitely looking forward to checking back in with you as you go and figure out how you're liking it there.
And the nice thing is about Audible is that it has it broken up, telling me how long each story is. I have a gripe with Audible. They need to fix their shit. They have The Mist as 30 minutes long, and they have opening credits as 4.5 hours.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That's
I'm like,
weird.
Fix your shit. Come on, really?
Yeah. So Mark asked, does it have the Mangler? And it does not.
That one's
I just
in,
pulled it up. That one.
Different
that one's a Night Shift.
Night Shift, yeah.
Which actually bothers me because Night Shift is not. It's pretty much not available in audiobook. Apparently, Audible.
We were talking about this, yeah.
Audible has it, but it says it's not available in the U.S. But then, as I done research into it, apparently the one on Audible is an abridged.
Yeah.
Adaptation, like or whatever, and that's weird because I didn't think King allowed abridgments of his work, so it's really weird that exists. So I really am hoping that someone's going to be working on getting Night Shift done, modern with a bunch of new readers and unabridged, because that one has a lot, and that's where the Mangler's at.
I don't know if you mentioned Patreon in our intro today because we got sidetracked.
Yeah, I did.
Did you? Okay.
Yeah, I did.
Because that's one of the things that's coming up for one of our hangouts in March is we're going to do a deep dive into Hearts in Atlantis. That was one of the options.
Yeah.
So Hearts in Atlantis, and then what's the short story collection? What's Everything Eventual? What's in that one?
That one.
'Cause that's on my wish list, and I can't remember why I added it.
It's Dark Tower related.
That's what it was. Okay.
Yeah, it's Dark Tower related.
Does it have Sisters of Alesia?
Aluria.
Aluria.
Is that Everything is? I'm starting to get them all mixed up in my head. I can't keep.
We're
them
talking
straight.
about too many different ones.
Yeah. Yeah. So this one has. Little Sister of Aluria is in that one.
Aluria.
Let's see. The other one's in that one. Everything's Eventual. I mean, Everything's Eventual, I think, is the name of one of the stories. Yeah, and that's the big one that's Dark Tower related, outside of the actual one. That has,
Everything's Eventual is actually Dark Tower related, the actual novella.
Yeah, and then, of course,
okay.
Little Sisters has Roland himself. That one also has the Autopsy Room 4, which is a great one. Let's see. Let me see other ones that jump out at me. Let's see. Oh, The Road Virus Heads North is probably one of my favorite King short stories.
Okay.
Dude, that one still sticks with me. 1408 is
Cody
in that
says,
one as well.
Cody says Dinky Earnshaw.
Yeah, Dinky's and Everything's Eventual.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so there's a couple in that one that are pretty awesome. So that's why I mean that one's super connected to Dark Tower, as well as the fact that you've got Little Sister of Aluria, which is literally a Roland story. So
Gotcha.
That one's huge.
Okay,
but yeah, definitely cool. I'm glad you're diving into the short stories because at some point I threw a challenge out that we're gonna have to circle back to, is like, if you're doing a 10 episode season for Stephen King. And you're filling short stories with each episode, which ones do you do? So we might have to circle that one after you've read a couple. But because there's
so far I got one that would be top of my list would be The Monkey.
Oh yeah, The Monkey for sure.
I think that's one of King's works. If you made a list of King's works that have never been adapted that should be, I think The Monkey would top my list almost.
Yeah, it's a good one, man.
That's unreal that hasn't been tapped by someone, because that would make just such a quick, concise thriller horror movie.
Yeah, good little 40-minute.
Oh, but it's not a horror movie because the monkey's just doing its thing, right? That's your argument.
I mean, it's not like it's coming alive and killing them,
Oh my god!
Cursed items.
You're defending the monkey?
Well,
what is wrong with you?
Is the monkey paw evil?
Yes. It twists their wish. It clearly knows what they're wishing for. I wish for $1 million.
How do you know it
your
knows?
great aunt dies and gives you $1 million? That is not what the person wanted.
How do you know it knows that?
Shut.
Just because you know that. All right, so moving on to the Palaver. One other thing I wanted to throw out, I've got a discussion question, but I want to throw this thing out first. So we mentioned toward the end of last year that we're going to be revisiting our March Madness thing that we did a number of years ago now, where we did the most hated King characters.
Rhea of the Coos.
Rhea was the ultimate winner. Was it Rhea versus Cordelia? Was the last two? Was the final two? Which is hilarious.
Okay, Chris, you say the monkey is evil and that it's a villain, but you were arguing against me earlier. I'm confused.
Well, because ultimately, I think because I'm trying to remember the exact details of it. Like, is it like because if it has ill intent, then it would be evil and a
It
villain.
doesn't have ill intent. It just claps when someone's gonna die. Right. That's your argument about stuff, right? Is it's just natural for it to do its thing. No, see, that's what I'm saying. Is like
I don't know, man.
It's just take a look at it as the context of the story. It's absolutely a villain. It's absolutely a villain.
I think,
and you can't tell me something moving on its own like that, a toy moving on its own, is not evil.
I mean, what about the drinking bird? Is that evil?
Yes. That's why I won't own one.
I want one, dude.
I don't trust it.
I've wanted one since The Simpsons back
Do
in the
they
day.
not make them anymore? Is that why you haven't got one?
No, they actually make those ones still. I just need to buy one. The clapping monkey, though, no. There doesn't seem to be anyone actively making
Holy
those right
shit,
now.
dude. The drinking bird is $10 on Amazon and you haven't bought one. I'll go buy you one right now and have it shipped here. Are you kidding me?
I love them, dude. They're just The Simpsons makes me love it.
Dude, we should have it and then have it like on the movie shelf behind you. Get rid of Baby Yoda and
then there's Mark saying it's true. Is it a prediction or a cause? Is it the cause? Like with the monkeys, that is what it comes down to. Ultimately, is debating the monkey is like, is it causing the stuff to happen or is it predicting it? Like.
See, that's open to interpretation. To me, it's causing.
Yeah, and if it's causing, then I would say it's evil, because then it's like actively like harming.
I love the line in it where it's like, oh, maybe the monkey's the reason my dad disappeared.
What's that?
In the story, Matthew Broderick's character is like, maybe the monkey's the reason my dad disappeared.
Oh, yeah.
That's dark, dude. That's they all think that he just like ran off and left his family and everything like that.
Yeah.
Come to find out some supernatural evil monkey is the reason.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. But sorry, back to the March Madness thing.
Sorry.
So we're going to be doing the March Madness this year in March. So what we're going to need now, starting now, is for people to hit us up and let us know. So what we're doing, because we did the most hated last time. This time we're going to do the most, I think the way to word it is the most beloved Dark Tower characters. Yeah. So I think what we need is probably 16 people to fill in.
16, or if you want to do bigger, it has to be 32.
Yeah.
Or we could just give a certain character. We could do like 18 and give 2 of them a first round bye.
Yeah.
I mean, I could name 2 off the top of my head that deserve first round buys.
I guarantee you, if it comes down to like votes getting him that, he's going to get a bye.
Exactly.
Like, there's no way he doesn't.
That's the one that deserves a bye.
We are talking Dark Tower characters here, not Stephen King. But we need to throw it out now that people need to start sending those in, because on the Roundtable 117, which is the next roundtable, but that's actually 2 episodes from now, on the 26th of February, we need to have the 16 people finalized then so that we can have it ready to launch on March 1st with votes. Right. So I'll get all that logistically worked out, but we need to have people start sending people in. So Dark Tower wise, we need people to send in who are your most beloved Dark Tower characters. Send them to us an email, send them to us on Twitter, send them to
Facebook,
any way you can. If you're in the live chat, you can send them as well, but then I would need Peter to record them in some way so that we can keep track. But we need, just send us, and you can send us as many as you want, and then what I'll do is I'll compile how many times people are mentioned, and I'll use that to eliminate if we end up getting more than 16.
So we're going to post this on March 1st for people to start voting for round 1.
Yeah, March 1st is
and then our first episode will be on March 12th.
12th, yeah. So by that point, probably the first round might be over, or will be over, yeah. So, yeah. But yeah, we need people to start doing it now. We probably should have mentioned it last episode, but I kind of lost sight. It's just weird to think about because we only do 2 episodes a month. It's crazy how quickly March is going to be here. So we need to start the conversation now. So start sending them in to us.
We'll post on our social media, on our Twitter and on our Facebook. Try to keep them as close to the post as possible. That way we don't miss any. Comment on Facebook. reply to the tweet and everything like that.
Yeah, I'll throw up
So,
some on Instagram. I'll throw
Yeah.
something up on all of our stuff. But we need people to start sending in stuff. I am going to say Flag counts because he is beloved.
No.
So
No.
I love Flag.
No.
So
No. We're doing good guys, and we did bad guys.
No, we didn't. No, we didn't do bad. We did most hated because King was on that last one. He's not bad.
Debatable. Out here killing boys like Jake and Eddie.
Because that's the thing is ultimately we did most loved. Now we're doing most hated. Now we're doing most loved. So that doesn't mean good or bad. That's how you perceive it.
You
certainly.
left Flag off of that list on purpose. You know how much I hate him.
No, wasn't he? Wasn't he on the list originally? He got
He
bumped
can't
pretty
be
quick.
on both.
Sure, he can.
No.
Because there's a lot of people that fall on both sides. We've had the argument multiple times, and there's people on your side, there's people on my side, which means that he would be on both lists. Just depends on who you ask. If you got someone that's on Team Peter, he's going to show up on the last poll. If you on Team Tad, they're going to show up on this poll. So I'm just throwing it out there.
He's not
It
a
does-
beloved character. He's evil.
He's beloved by me, man. He's one of my all-time favorite if not my all-time favorite Stephen King character.
Well, we're not voting for. This isn't the idea.
No, I know, but beloved in terms of Dark Tower. I love him. He's great. He tries to kill.
Hardly in this.
He tried to kill Mordred, for God's sake, and let's just all agree that Mordred is one of the most detestable characters in the Dark Tower. So
Flag's worse.
Flag's worse. Did Flag kill Oi?
Yeah.
No, he didn't.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, he
Mordred
did.
did not.
Mordred exists because of Flag.
Yeah, that's superstition.
No, it's not. The evil scientist creates something, can't control it,
Like
and
the-
somehow
like-
the monster is worse than the scientists who had the idea to create the monster in the first place.
Like the Congo monkeys?
Yes, exactly. You train
Or-
them up. You train them up to be defenders.
Or the dinosaurs in Jurassic Park?
No, they didn't breed them to hunt humans. That was their natural instinct.
At least Hammond died in the books.
It's
Or in
true,
the
he
book. He got. But yeah, so throw those out, send them to us. We'll post something on our social medias to let everyone know and start getting us some responses. But yeah, most beloved characters, just send them in to us, and then with kind of each one you mention will count as a vote, and then we'll if we end up getting more than 16, we'll use those votes to figure out who we're going to weed off and just have the top 16.
If Flag makes it, he's going up against Oi in round 1, just so I can stop the argument there.
Well, one way or the other, he would end up going against Oi, right? Like
No,
if
he doesn't deserve to be on the list. He just deserves to be. You don't deserve to be in the dance. Get out.
All right, so that now we have that covered. I have not even a debate. This is just a palaver topic that I came up with.
Okay.
So you've got the quartet.
Okay.
You've got the Americans of the quartet.
Okay.
It's everyone but Roland. So my challenge to you.
And Oi.
My challenge. Well, yeah, I don't know how Oi counts.
He's not American.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess he doesn't count.
Okay.
So Roland and Oi.
So you're talking about Callahan, Eddie, Jake, and Susanna.
I guess I didn't even think about Callahan, but I should have. But ultimately, what we're going to do is all the Americans, you have to replace them with someone from another king thing. And we're doing it right now. This isn't a challenge for later. So you got to build a quartet with other king characters.
To help him get to the tower?
Yeah, and that's the thing is, like, it's not necessarily to make his journey easier. Like, it's not just like, oh, use Carrie because she could just fucking torch everything, or whatever. You're not trying to make it easier for him necessarily, because ultimately, right, Roland getting the tower is not the objective. We need his soul needs to be saved. So if anything, you're trying to maybe help him with redemption more than the tower.
You also need to save the tower as well, so you can't count that out.
Yeah, but ultimately, yeah, I was just curious, like, how would you plug other characters in?
Jack would replace Jake.
Yeah, don't think
Like-
that's too easy.
No.
What about It Kids?
It Kids?
Like, honestly, Bev came to mind. Because I was thinking, because then it started making me think of our top 10 king kids, and one of my biggest takeaways from that was how popular Bev was.
She is
And
very popular.
I'm like, and also, don't you think she could handle it? Like,
yeah.
she's a badass. So
her with the slingshot out there in Algo Santo,
she'd get a gun,
she would.
So, and she'd probably do great with it. So,
So we're talking Bev the kid or Bev the adult?
kid, because if she's replacing Jake, if you want to make
So you're talking about like
Well,
a guy in his early or mid 20s replacing Eddie.
Try to keep it 1-to-1 as much as possible.
Okay.
Yeah, so like Jake, you probably want to have someone that's a kid, that kind of
Okay.
thing. So
Okay.
I guess let's start with Callahan, I suppose. Who would you?
I'd use the priest from Salem's Lot. What's his name again? I can't remember.
Oh, hashtag Peter's terrible. Look at that. You got one before I did.
That's not even terrible. What are you talking about? That was a joke.
Not a good one.
Oh, it was good. You laughed.
Yeah, so what do you think? Because I think Callahan's probably the more exterior. Like, he's not necessarily like central core quartet. He's certainly part
So
of the
we're
team.
not talking anything directly related to the Dark Tower. So no Wind Through the Keyhole. No.
Yeah,
No one from earlier in the books or anything
you
like
can't
that.
just pull Cuthbert over because that would be.
That's just not fair. Yeah, I understand. I think I understand like what you're trying to go for. Does he have to be like older?
No,
no. You know what? I got him.
They just
I got him.
They
I
just
got it.
they just basically
I got it.
you're gonna plug them into what Callahan's role was. So
Yep.
who are they gonna run into in the Sturgis
I got it.
that came from another King story?
Judd.
Judd Crandall.
Judge Crandall from Pet Sematary.
Okay.
That one, yeah.
And I didn't do a lot of like forethinking on this to like come up with my own, so
Okay.
I'm kind of on the fly with
You're
you
on the
as
spot
well.
as well. Okay.
Yeah. One that did come to my mind just instantly was Dick Halloran.
Oh, that's a good one.
Dick,
He's got the shining a little bit, yeah.
yeah, he's got the shine. So
Ooh, what about if instead of Jake you get I just spaced it. Danny.
yeah, definitely. Could do
Bring Danny and Dick. Then you got two people who know each other and everything.
yeah, and you don't need that, right?
No.
Because they don't know each other in the
At
like
the beginning
in
of The Shining.
in the Dark Tower, even like Callahan doesn't know Jake, and likewise. So yeah, I think Dick Halloran definitely came to mind for me. Was probably one of my early thoughts that came to mind. I'm trying to think of any of the others. I'm looking through like the King list to see if anything jumps out.
Judd really sticks out for me. Old timers, seen a thing or two. Pet
Yeah.
Cemetery is kind of supernatural-esque. You could see it accidentally opening up a portal, something happening, and he gets pulled into Kala.
And Judd is experiences the supernatural and is able to like handle it.
And
Like,
not,
it doesn't
not just
break
go,
him.
Not just go stark raving mad. Yeah,
Exactly. So
Yeah.
it's like he would be able to handle, you know, like and
oh, I got pulled to another dimension, and here I am in Kala. Okay, I can handle this, you know.
yeah.
He may not be a priest, but he could handle it.
Exactly. He would. Yeah, exactly. And that's where it would be different. Yeah. So for me, I think I'd probably put Halloran would be my pick.
That's a good one.
So-
yeah.
I feel he feels kind of Callahan-esque. Not entirely. He's not a
Are you
priest.
Are you talking about Halloran from The Shining or Halloran from Doctor Sleep? Because The Shining, man, he's not that old.
No, and I don't even know if they have to be like full
Because
on
that was the
old.
thing is like we're talking about. Well, we're gonna keep a kid for Jake.
Yeah.
you know,
'Cause-
so-
yeah. He's at least old in like wisdom. Like Halloran's not necessarily. He's been through a lot of shit, right?
If you pull the Halloran from Doctor Sleep, I'll shut up because that is older Halloran. You know where he gives him like the box and everything like that. And
Yeah.
that Halloran I could definitely see being like a 1-to-1 exchange for Callahan.
Yeah.
Well, Callahan's not exactly old; he's just grizzled. You know, he's
Yeah.
not ancient. He's
been-
still able to move.
Yeah, he's been through a lot of shit.
Yeah.
That's ultimately the
Okay.
main thing.
Okay, I withdraw my objection.
All right, so let's move into the core quartet then. Let's leave Jake for last, I think. Oh, well, we already talked.
We already answered
We already
Jake.
talked to. So what do you think? Because I think
I would do Jack.
I think I'd go Bev. I think Jack, just because for me, I see Jack, and I think I almost tried to I was almost going to make that a rule, like no twinners, but he's not technically even his twinner. He's Bobby Garfield's twinner. So Jack just felt, for me, it feels too obvious. So I'd go Bev because I think like Bev would.
I think the obviousness is what makes it. I mean, it's obvious for a reason. He
he-
has the same, not necessarily the same traits as Jake, but man's able to get a job done. And
Certainly.
That's the
certainly.
thing. Bev's the same way. You're absolutely right about that. She'd get the job done too.
Yeah.
But man, I'd trust Jack a lot with stuff.
Here's the thing I would say in terms of the Roland's redemption, though, is would it not be fair to say there's a much different relationship with a father and a daughter than a father and a son?
It's true.
So
yes, as a father who's had a son and a daughter, yes,
yeah, so that maybe Bev would almost
there'd
be
be a
more
little
of
bit
a
more protection,
more
there.
of a like a connection. You know, that I don't know. Yeah, I think Bev is one that instantly comes to mind for me. Of like, I think that'd be a really cool.
It would be really interesting because the paternal instinct, at least for me, I'm not going to speak for all parents because everyone's different, but for me, the paternal instinct for a daughter is to, you know, protect her a little bit more. Oh no, you scraped your knee. Oh gosh, I'm so sorry. Are you okay? Let's go get it fixed. My son scrapes his knee. You all right? Rub some dirt on it. Get up.
Yeah.
Let's go. You're a tough kid. You're a tough guy. Come on.
Yeah, and I think Bev's obviously been through some shit too. So like she's
Yeah.
I think in a lot of ways she's as like maybe hardened as a
Jack,
child
yeah.
as Jake was. So
well, even Jack going through the ordeals with everything with like trying to save his mother and everything like that. Both of them have gone through it. That's why they're both interchangeable good choices because
Yeah.
they both have seen shit and been able to handle it. And that's what I was saying. You could trust them.
yeah. So what about Susanna? I maybe this is obvious, but I think I'm going Holly Gibney.
That's an interesting choice.
And like to me, like I would even say go HBO outsider and make it Cynthia Erivo.
One for one.
Yeah. So, but I think Holly would be interesting as hell because like maybe she doesn't have the split personality stuff, but at the same time with all of her like neuroses and stuff, it'd be really tough for her in Midworld. Like in a way that like it doesn't like it isn't.
She's not much of a fighter. She struggles with even like the smallest idea of physical confrontation and everything.
Yeah.
So that part would worry me about bringing Holly over and making her like, you know, like
she would be able to like think of like when they're at the cradle, like you know like Susanna's the one that figures out like the prime numbers of she's kind of the best thinker of them, and Holly would definitely fill that role.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, I don't know. I think that's the one that comes to mind for me, and maybe it's just because I'm so in love with Holly. I think she's one of my favorite King characters of the modern era. But
you know, the one that makes that jumps to my mind is the mom in Cujo.
Okay.
She's dealing with a lot, and we saw how she is under pressure and everything like that. When it's finally time to make a stand, she does it, and she kills Cujo.
Yeah.
In the book and in the novel. So
yeah, in the book and the movie, you mean?
That's what I meant. Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that. See that.
That's one that jumps to my mind. There's a lot of protective mothers in King's works like that.
What about even Carrie?
Carrie would not be a bad one there. You get
She
the emotional damage that you
also
have.
I think you have the absolute fucking killer that Detta is.
Nope, I'm replacing Jack with someone. Charlie.
Yeah.
Oh, she would fuck up Midworld.
Yeah, but the problem is that does she have the damage from her dad about kind of not using it?
No. When she walks into the Rolling Stones, she's ready to use it. She's ready to prove to the world that what they did, they messed her up. They messed over her family.
Oh, so you would be taking her from that last portion.
Of course you would. That's where you would have to take her. Before that, yeah, if you take her from her dad, she'd never do a thing for you. She'd probably end up killing you by accident. The end of Firestarter, where after she's walked into the Rolling Stones and exposed the shop, that's the Charlie I want on my team.
You know what I think is interesting about that too? Because I also think like maybe that's not really a rule. I didn't even dictate that up front. But like you wouldn't want to make it almost like less interesting in any way. And I think that if you like for me, if I was to use like Holly, that maybe takes some of the trouble away because you don't have the Odetta stuff. But if you put Charlie in there, that would be you'd be adding that almost like. I don't want to say combustible, but you'd add that element of almost like danger, right? Because she could just set someone on fire in her sleep, type thing. Like
yeah, but at the end of
she now has that. She now kind of like there's at least that underlying danger of like she's not
at the end. Not at the end. She's learned to control it at the shop. She finally learned control at the shop, and that's where when her dad died, she finally was able to go full Nova and be like, I can feel it, but now I can control it. That's how she's able to get to New York and up to the ranch house and everything like that with no problem. Is because she is able to. If she wasn't able to control it, she would have never got there. That's way too far. Virginia to upstate New York without, as a 9-year-old girl without authorities getting on her. No, she's got a cool head. She's smart. I mean, she gets manipulated by John Rainbird, yes.
Yeah.
Makes her an easy target for Roland's manipulation and everything. But I'll tell you right now, she would be probably more useful than Carrie. You put her in any one of your sticky situations, she just goes, "What's that, Gasher? You want to take me? Okay, that's fine. Let him take me." Walk across the bridge. Whoosh. I mean.
Yeah. Now, I'm just kind of scrolling through the list. The Girl Who Loved Tom Gordon, you've read that. I haven't.
Yeah, she's awesome. I wouldn't take her over Charlie or Jack or Bev, though. She's resourceful, she's smart and everything like that, but I'd take those other three first.
Okay, and what about any other It kids?
No.
Any of the other It kids like come to mind that?
I mean, you could take Richie and then not have a smart ass.
Not have Eddie.
You have Eddie in kid form.
Yeah, or adult.
I mean, maybe I'd take I might take Ben. Loyal to a fault, like that dude.
Yeah,
You get him on your side, and okay, maybe Mike,
yeah.
but Bill,
So what did you say for Susanna then?
Susanna, I would do the mom from Cujo.
Okay,
I don't
okay,
remember-
that's okay.
Yeah, the mom from Cujo. She always strikes me as an unsung strong character. Man,
Yeah,
having a child trapped in a car like that and being, I mean,
Yeah.
in the novel obviously turns out differently than the movie.
yeah,
The results, but
yeah.
that's one tough lady. You
All right.
gotta give her props.
So,
for that.
and what kid are you landing on then?
Charlie,
Okay, and then I guess that leaves us with Eddie.
Eddie.
So Alan says Richie is Eddie's twin.
Yeah,
I mean,
can I get adult Richie?
yeah, that's a character. in
I do
Kings.
adult Richie.
For me, I think and it could be my own bias. I think Larry. I think I've
yeah.
always had those two kind of connected in my mind because
Yeah.
I've always Eddie to me is Larry from the original miniseries.
He's got the doubt about himself and the I'm
Yeah.
a piece of shit, but I can't show it. I'm trying to
Yeah.
be strong, but I know I'm a piece of
And
shit.
he becomes the hard ass that he needs to be
Mm-hmm.
in that final moment when he's one of the two people that are there to be torn apart.
Yeah.
And to stand up to that shows me he has the mettle.
And to comfort Ralph at the same time.
Yeah. Now I don't know that he necessarily has the full Eddie,
Badassery?
being a Joker.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't necessarily have that. So
He's got a drier humor, that's for sure.
yeah. But I think that's what it'd be for me. And like I said, so I might lose a little bit. Like Susanna to Holly is probably a big I'm losing something there, but I think I'm also gaining
With Larry.
a bit. No, I think I'm gaining with
with
Holly
Holly.
too. I think Holly could bring a lot to the table.
Yeah.
Overall. So I mean, fuck, maybe she's the one that can. Maybe if Larry can't come up with a joke to beat Blaine, I bet you Holly could think of something. Holly has that mind, and I think she would be able to come up with something that would stump Blaine. Maybe she would even be able to come up with the idea of I just need to say something stupid like a joke, not because she's a joker, but because she understands how computers
how
work.
he works. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Eddie took however an hour or so to figure out that Blaine didn't answer his joke.
Yeah.
His joke riddle. Holly would have probably picked it up and well, wait a minute.
yeah,
You didn't-
she would have logged that instantly and been like,
Yeah.
wait, something's up there.
See, but you need someone to make a joke. That's why you.
Yeah.
That's why you bring Richie along.
Yeah. I mean, Dick has a little bit of a sense of humor.
He does.
Well, he's not on the train though, so Father Callahan's not there. So, yeah, I don't know. I just thought it was an interesting.
Bev's got a sense of humor.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, I just thought it was a fun little thing, just swapping people out. I think it's kind of an interesting thing of how do you build the quartet from other King, because King has a lot of great fucking characters, and we didn't even really scratch the surface. Like when you look through all these different characters. Oh, the other thing too, actually with Eddie, what about Jake from 11/22/63?
Oh, Jake Epping.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be.
Oh yeah.
He doesn't necessarily have the the sense of humor necessarily in that same way, but I think
There's a grit to him that
he has to get through the dairy stuff. He has to get through everything he gets through, and he comes through it. I think that that could be pretty.
also having the strength at the end of 11/22/63 to go back, reset,
yeah,
and then walk away from the love of his life.
yeah,
Dude, that's some mental fortitude that not many people have or possess.
yeah, indeed. So yeah, I don't know. I thought that was a fun little exercise.
That was fun. I like it.
But let's go ahead and
It's the emails. Tad's gonna read us what people wrote to us.
You know that's not getting deleted, right?
God damn it.
Oh, that's glorious. Let's go ahead and go like that too. There we go. Now we're all set up. So I have a couple let's see here. We got one from Aaron from Oklahoma. Let me change the slide here. He says, "Hi, Tad and Peter."
Kyle.
Kyle says, "I just got done listening to your latest podcast." He says, "I'm finally caught up. And I love the idea of more Dark Tower books." And he says, "What King fan wouldn't?"
Yeah.
I mean, I agree. But there is a lot of King fans out there that unfortunately have not read the Dark Tower. So
true.
Those people need to remember the face of their fathers.
Yeah.
Certainly.
I said that to my wife the other day, and she just looked at me like I was crazy. I'm like, "You forgot the face of your father." And she's like, "What?" I was like, "It's a Dark Tower thing." She's like, "Oh."
I would love for you to actually say that to your daughter at some point. That'd be hilarious. Just see what
When she disappoints me.
no, just
When she doesn't clean her
and-
room.
and just see like what how she like interprets that. You know,
Okay.
like because if you're her father saying that would be hilarious. I think.
Steven said it to Roland, so.
Yeah, that's true. And he says, so if I could have another Dark Tower book from King, what would I like to see? He says, my favorite stuff in the series is watching our core team of heroes fight and survive. So I think I'd like more of that. Just like Went Through the Keyhole gave us extra adventures from young Roland, I'd like to see more Roland, Susanna, Eddie, Jake, and Oi. I'm not sure where it would best fit in the timeline. Maybe it could even be some different adventure from a different cycle. And then he says, great question. Can't wait to hear more answers. Long days and pleasant nights. Signed, Aaron from Oklahoma. So yeah, just a reminder that's something we threw out. So if anybody else wants to answer that that question, you know, what would you want to see from more Dark Tower? And I think the preface we said to it was we're going to exclude the fall of or Jericho Hill and
Hill.
the Tech Corporation.
Yeah.
Because those are like the most famous and popular answers. So I think that
Oh, thanks for coming, Mark.
yeah, thanks, Mark. Thanks for joining us. Always a pleasure to have you with us here.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was kind of the premise that we threw out for that question. So yeah, as Aaron's answering it here, we'll throw it back out again for people. If you want to answer that question along with Aaron, send it in to us. What would you like to see if you remove those two things? Because I think that's always the fun thing is like when you have those obvious answers to remove them and then see where people go. Because you know, if everyone's always going to answer the same way, then it's like, cool, it's not an interesting question to ask.
I
right?
remember
But-
I remember you did that once to me right before we found out that Spider-Man was coming to the MCU. You're like, aside from Spider-Man, obviously, who do you want to see next in Marvel?
yeah,
in a
Spider-Man or
Marvel movie?
Wolverine, I think that was probably what I would have.
Yeah, you said both of those. Get those out of here. We know those are like the backbone of Marvel.
Yeah.
Who else would you want to see in the MCU? And I think my answer was Deadpool.
Yeah. It's always fun because, yeah, like I said, when you have these questions that are just like so obvious, the answers, yeah, it's not even fun to discuss. But when you take those obvious answers away,
That's where you get into the weeds of it.
yeah, that's when it gets fun to kind of
Yeah.
think about it. But yeah, that's let's see. I've got another email. Trying to think. Yeah, let's go ahead and hit it while we're going here. We are pretty much caught up with emails. These are newer ones that came in. So let's go ahead and hit up Mike. And yeah, for anyone else who wants to send emails, we got Mike from Southeast Pennsylvania. Anybody else who wants to email, go ahead and email us at any time. Because yeah, like I said, the mailbag we're fairly caught up on it, which is very unusual for us.
We're almost as empty as Roland's water pouches crossing the desert.
And we'll see if our bag is like his and, you know, his gunna sack that, you know, refills
Yeah.
things. That's still, I remember that freaking me out when he was just giving shit away in the first
He's
book.
like, hold on. Okay, here
and
you go.
you don't really get a payoff for that till later in the series where
Yeah.
you find out how that works. So it's like, yeah, at first I'm like, dude, how much gold do you have, dude? You're giving this shit away pretty freely. Like,
Especially since all of them were like, I can't make change for this. He's like, I don't expect you to.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh shit!
So Mike starts Heil Podslingers.
Hi.
Heil. He says if we want to see the Dark Tower made for screen, here are some of my suggestions / thoughts.
Okay.
He says one, they need to start with Wizard and Glass. He says it will provide a lot of exposition that most non-constant readers need to get into the series. Which I agree. I think that's probably the biggest takeaway from Glenn Mazzara's take. Is I think that is probably the best entry point.
Show someone starting their quest. You don't come in the middle of Two Towers. You start at Fellowship of the Ring.
Yeah,
that's a good.
Or the Hobbit.
Or the Hobbit. Yeah. Well, no, the Hobbit doesn't have anything to do with. I mean, that's how they find the ring. Yes.
Yeah, but
the quest to destroy the ring starts in Fellowship.
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying, and that's the quest here. Is you want to see the start of the quest, not come in halfway through.
And Cody says, do bullets multiply in the grow bag? I don't know if the bullets do, but I would imagine the reloading supplies do, because he does talk often about
that he has reloaded.
Like I think he talks about it with the shells, where it's like, because Eddie's at one point is surprised the fact that he still has when the thinny. He's surprised that he has like the
wet shells.
And it's like, why would you keep those and stuff? And it's just, so I think we get the impression that he some of the, I think at one point he talks about how many times some of these shells have been reloaded.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd imagine like the gunpowder or the primers or whatever probably get refreshed from his bag. But I don't know if it's actual ammo though. As much as a gamer, I would love that. Like as a gamer, I think about that. Like imagine a game where it's just like your ammo just auto regenerated. Wouldn't that be a beautiful thing?
That would be really cool for like a shooter. Like have it where it's like, and then have it where it's an ability that you can upgrade.
Yeah,
because I'm playing Borderlands right now, and it has like skill trees, so you can do like 3 different skill trees.
Yeah,
and you can do like healing, or you're a tank, or you do more damage and stuff like that. And that would be a kind of a cool skill. It's like your backpack becomes capable of producing bullets, and here's every 20 seconds a new bullet's put into your backpack.
I will say there's nothing I hate. I'm a big fan of shooters. It's probably one of my favorite genres for video games. But I will say I hate them when there's not enough ammo. Like if the game is a spot where you're running out of ammo too much and it almost makes you like not shoot as much, I don't enjoy them. I'm like,
you're a shooter.
Yeah, it's like I don't like this. Like I like when I'm playing a shooter. For me, it should be about the skill of it and stuff. It shouldn't be like me having to worry about, don't use too many bullets or otherwise you're going to get fucked later in the round or whatever. Like, that to me is not fun. Like, I don't enjoy that at all. Like classically, you didn't have to worry. Like, in the first Halo, there's never a time where you're like, unless it was like a power gun that they want you to drop at some point. But it's like...
The shotgun had 12 rounds. You're not going to find more of that on the map. But the assault rifle...
Yeah, there's never a time where you're like, I can't unload an entire magazine on one fucking grunt because I'm then going to run out of ammo. That never was a thing in that game.
Yeah.
Some of the later Halo games, though... bother me for that reason. And then he says that second, the protagonist won't be immediately portrayed as a psychotic, selfish a-hole like the gunslinger at the beginning of a year-long series. And it's funny, when I read this originally, I don't know if this is just like Tad being Tad, but when he said that, I was thinking Flag. So I'm like, the protagonist will maybe be portrayed as a psychotic. I'm like, I guess I could see how Flag could be portrayed that way. And then I realized oh wait, he's talking about Roland. And I don't know if I read protagonist as antagonist, or if I just thought protagonist, of course Flag. But somehow when I read that initially, I was like, Flag. I'm like, okay, I don't know how Flag's less of a maybe psychotic, selfish asshole if that's how you perceive him in the Wizard and Glass stuff.
Yeah.
But okay. And then after a second it clicked, I'm like, oh, he means Roland. God. I figured you'd appreciate that.
God. How do you think Flag's... Oh, never mind.
And I'm not even saying that just to get at you. I legit, that was legit my thoughts as I was trying to interpret this when I was pasting the email into because I put them into a thing to read and stuff. And I was just because I try to interpret it maybe whatever as I'm doing that. And I was just that threw me off. So yes. Flag is the protagonist, of course. No. And then next he says, it will help explain why adult Roland is a psychotic, selfish asshole later. It says this will provide non-constant readers the hope that Roland will regain what humanity he lost. And then in parentheses says Charyu Tree. And give up on going to the tower after it is saved. Which, that's good. Because ultimately, if you do start with Gunslinger Roland, would an audience even perceive the possibility of redemption for a guy like that?
That's true.
Versus if you bring him to that point, then I think when people have seen him as a child, when he's not that way, you maybe have more hope. I think of Walter White, right? I think even though it wasn't in the cards for that show, you do think maybe there's some chance that Walter White can turn it around and redeem himself. Whereas Tony Soprano, no. You come into that guy and he's just a fucking evil,
and it just gets
monster,
worse. And just gets worse as the movie progresses.
So it's as you go through the series of The Sopranos, you're not sitting there going, I hope Tony becomes a better person. That doesn't even enter your mind, because it's you started and that guy was just a fucking evil motherfucker. Whereas Walter White grew to that, so you maybe had a little bit of a hope that it might turn around.
Maybe he can turn a 180.
So I think that's kind of the like how I interpret what he's saying there, and I think it's true. It's good thought. And then he says next he says it could be let's see, did I miss something here? Yeah, no, I didn't. It could be made on a smallish budget, mostly a Western with a little fantasy, the glass and the thinny, making it more likely to happen. So basically, yeah, ultimately the book 4 would be cheaper than some other things, which is true. There's less going on.
I think
overall.
the only thing that would be cheaper is if you did book 1 by itself. But we've talked about it. That would be a sparse movie.
Yeah. He says we need to support, and his next big point, we need to support shows like The Dark Tower that are currently being made. He says if we watch shows like The Wheel of Time, Foundation, The Witcher, etc., he says by supporting those above, we give Hollywood the impression that this genre is more profitable and popular, boosting the possibility that they make The Dark Tower. And he says, I know that watching some of the above and their contemporaries may be hard, depending on how much you like or dislike them. I personally didn't get through the second episode of Wheel of Time, but if I thought it would help, I would start playing Wheel of Time on my computer while I cut the grass to serve jury duty and leave it on repeat.
There you go.
Yeah, certainly. And ultimately, I know The Witcher has been really popular. I haven't heard a whole lot of like if Wheel of Time's doing well. I've heard of the Foundation, but not enough about it. But I think some things might be turning on that a little bit. I feel like there's been some stuff recently with Westerns even where there's been some successful things happening where people are like, oh, maybe Westerns aren't, which some of us have been telling people that for years. Like, dude, Westerns are fine. Just make them. People will watch them. His next big point says this has been said before, but I'll say it again. It cannot be on broadcast TV. Some form of streaming is needed. And I think that definitely goes without say. Ultimately, I don't even know if broadcast really does a lot anymore, do they? Outside of like your procedurals and stuff, like what is ABC, NBC,
they
Fox?
They have their own streaming stuff. That's where they put that stuff.
They would put even if NBC wanted to make they'd put it on Peacock.
But if NBC had wanted, they'd put it on Peacock. CBS has Paramount Plus.
Yeah.
I mean, shit. That's where they put The Stand.
Yeah.
There's a prime example right there. That's where they just put the miniseries for The Stand. They didn't put it on their channel. They put it on Paramount Plus.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
yeah, it would not go to.
So yeah, it wouldn't be on broadcast, but it might be on a broadcasting company. But they'd have it on their streaming service, which means that Fox wouldn't be involved because they don't have, like Fox TV station doesn't have a streaming. They're the only one that really does.
Sure, they do. It's called Disney Plus.
No,
Hulu.
That's a different company.
Oh, that's right, because they bought Fox Movies, not Fox.
Yeah, they bought the
TV.
movies. They
that's
have
right.
TV, basically news and sports, which is what is under most of your local TV is owned by that branch. Didn't get bought by Disney, so they're the only ones that don't, and they probably never will have.
Now that all their other stuff has gone to Disney.
Yeah, like what would they put on a streaming service? So and then he goes on and says, "What do you think? I can't imagine not starting with the Man in Black fled across the desert and then the gunslinger followed, but I'm willing to shake it up to get it done." And then he signs Mike from Southeast Pennsylvania, and I agree.
I know how you do it. Show a desert. From the sand comes the Man in Black fled across the desert and the gunslinger followed. Have it go away. This is the story of how the gunslinger became the gunslinger, or something along those lines.
Yeah, there's definitely ways to do it.
It would be really cool to kind of hint that there is a future.
Yeah,
world, not just this one movie, and because that would draw people in, world building and everything like that. For the story.
I get the love for the line, but I kind of wonder if there's even a good way to do it, man. Like, because even if you were starting with book 1, like, text doesn't always work that great. Like, and it makes me wonder, like, what is, like, the best of times, the worst of times? Like, when that's been adapted, did they actually try to get that line in the movie somehow? Or did they just...
you have, like, a voiceover.
I'm just wondering, in a lot of those cases where you have these great, like, literary lines, like, do all of them actually carry them over, or do they just drop them because a literary line isn't necessarily something that usually that may not work well on screen?
Or you do the classic do a quote before the movie starts.
Yeah, and I think
you do the studio things and everything like that. The screen goes black and then the text comes up and
but then it doesn't connect though, right? If you're starting with book 4, like how does that, like, it would feel disjointed. Like I love the line, but I wonder if it's just something that may not carry over to screen without feeling kind of ham-fisted.
I got one for you. Cast yourself an adult. Well, don't cast yourself an adult, Roland. Leave it ambiguous. Shoot it from the back. Only see a guy walking through the desert.
Yeah,
he comes to Brown.
Have it be a flashback.
Have him come to Brown, have Brown be in the movie and everything, and then have him be like, you have something to tell me. What is it you want to get off your chest? And then just have it go right into, it's him telling Brown about mages. That's the movie.
Yeah.
That's how you incorporate the line if you really have to have it.
Yeah.
But I think that he's right.
I know
he's right.
I know it seems sacrilege though, man. I don't know, because like even like what Mazzara did. I know we haven't seen the episode. Like I think he did something kind of interesting to like merge the whole pursuing the Man in Black, and then he made it the young Roland though, and it was after the trial by combat, and he's chasing him, and he ends up chasing. So it's kind of an interesting way to go about it, and that feels like maybe one of the only ways you could do it that would actually like
Maybe.
super work, because otherwise it just feels like, I don't know. Maybe it's just beyond my mind, but I love the line. It's just I don't know how you get it in there, man, because it's not actual dialogue. Like, go then there are other worlds in these. Like that's easy as fuck because like a character says that, so it's easy. It's easy to get that in there. But
maybe you make it a line. Maybe have Susan say it.
Yeah,
Have just so you don't have it come up and have it. The Man in Black fled across the desert and the gunslinger follow. This is the story of how that chase began, or something like that.
Yeah.
To have her say that, and then when you get to her, you're like, oh, that's who said that line. Oh,
yeah. Now
what's this
here's
all about?
the thing: if you start with book 4, is there a chance that you just have that line later on, and it's not how you start it? What if it's
maybe that's how you start the second movie?
Yeah. What if it's a thing where like when you leave it off like the season wise, because I would see it as not as a movie but a show.
Yeah.
But you leave it off to the point where you understand the Man in Black, you understand who that is, you understand who the gunslinger is. But
well, if you're doing a TV show, just make it the intro.
But no, but what I'm saying is though is like if it's the start of season 2 that then leads into like the actual
Gunslinger.
book 1, then that's the first thing that's said there, because then it would almost be titillating, because then it's like who the gunslinger is, who the Man in Black is, the relationship they have,
and here's the next chapter.
And now to start it off, you give that line in a way to where maybe even the Man in Black himself gives the line. That would work for him.
Yeah.
The Man in Black is very a little bit more above, it seems, right? He seems a little bit more cognizant of certain things. So it'd be, I don't know. You could do interesting ways to do it. I don't know. It's just something. I wonder that at times, though, where it's like every time I try to think of a way, like I think sometimes I'm like,
just make it the intro, like you do with Breaking Bad. You have like the little guitar twang where the chemistry symbols come in, and you have Breaking Bad form from that. The Sopranos have obviously him driving and everything.
Yeah.
Maybe that's where you put it. Is you don't put it in the show. You just make it part of the intro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he also says, P.S. I can no longer find the link to the table of King books read by a person. Maybe move that to a permalink on the categories part of the website. I could definitely look into that. I think the only reason I haven't done that up to this point is just concerned about opening a link to everyone, I suppose.
Where they can edit it.
Yeah, so I might respond to him and send him a link to it. I don't know. We could try it. I could always lock the sheet down if I have to, because it's just one of those things like bots can get into, like, because like there's always things like that where it's like, oh, don't type your email, because like bots like scour like websites or things to like grab anything, and then they'll just start spamming that thing.
Yeah.
And I wonder if like posting a link to an open sheet that anyone can mess. Like, I have some things locked down on that, so they can only mess with certain things, but it could be.
Yeah, it's still enough.
Yeah, I don't know, but yeah, definitely. I'll at least send something to him, and if anyone else wants a link to that, which is that's our extended quartet count, so people can
what King works you've read.
Yeah, which King works you've read. We looked at that yesterday in our hangout because you finished something.
Yeah.
So I currently sit
I
at
finished If It Bleeds.
Yeah, I'm at 39 total, which is at 52%. You're at 45 total at 60%. So we got some people here with let's see. 96%, 100%, 92%, 96%. Just giving some highlights of the people that are up there. 92%, 92%. So, yeah, definitely some heavy hitters. A lot of other people at different realms too. But yeah, I'll share that to him directly. And if you want a link to that, just let me know and I'll shoot you a link to it. Hit me up on any service, social media or anything like that, and let me know. And I'll give you the link so you can get it on there. And I could try throwing it on the website. Might be worth trying. But yeah, it's always fun to look at.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it for the emails. And I think that's going to do it for the episode. Okay. Looks like Zach just showed up. No worries, Zach. It happens. I think it's like a normal thing for us where people show up at the very end there. But yeah, it's totally fine. But yeah, let's go ahead and hit the outro stuff real quick. First of all, let me throw out the thing one more time though. If we're gonna do the most beloved Dark Tower characters, we're gonna do the March Madness bracket thing for it. So it'll be voted, but we need the preliminary list built. So send us your list of most beloved Dark Tower characters, and then I will compile everything everyone submits, and then use the people that are most voted to get us down to the 16. What is it? The Sweet 16? Is that what they call it in the old March Madness?
Yeah, Sweet 16, Elite 8, Final 4.
Yeah, so that's what we'll do is we'll get it to the start at 16, and then starting on March 1st, we will start the votes. So start sending those in now. I'll post something on all the social medias. You can respond there. You can email, you can tweet, whatever. Just let us know who your guys' votes are for most beloved, because we got to get that rolling if we're going to have that launched on March 1st for March Madness. Can't wait to do that. Figure out who is the opposite of Rhea of the Coos, which won our most hated some years ago. So, but then for the outro stuff, if you want to subscribe to us, you can do that on any podcasting service. You can stream us on Spotify or Stitcher. You can find the show notes at darktowerpalaver.com. You can become a patron at patreon.com/darktowerpalaver. And if you want to contact us, for instance, to let us know who your beloved characters are, Peter can let you know how to do that.
The best way to reach us is email. It's darktowerpalaver@gmail.com. Check out our shows live. It's youtube.com/darktowerpalaver. Like the video, subscribe, ring the bell so you get notifications for when we're going live. And then our social media is facebook.com/darktowerpalaver. Our Twitter is @darktowerpod. That's @darktowerpod. And then our Instagram is darktowerpalaver, all one word. And check out our merch. It's tpublic.com/user/darktowerpalaver.
Oh yeah, and then Cody said in the chat that he just went in and updated the constant readers list. He is at 99%.
Excellent.
So let's see. So you're only missing one. Which one is it? Let's see. Dan's Macabre, looks like.
Ah.
So that's definitely a unique one because it's kind of nonfiction. But it's about horror, so it seems to fit. But I might have to look into it though, and may have to revise this because I think we got to figure out how we're going to deal with it. Because one thing I thought about was Sleeping Beauties. He wrote with Owen. So if he wrote that with Owen and we're counting that, but we're not counting Gwendy's because he co-wrote it with someone, that doesn't make sense. So again, I originally pulled this list from his website though, so I don't know why he counted it and didn't, but we might have to add like Gwendy in there and maybe revise the overall list so that we got everything, including ones that he's co-wrote with people, because we do have at least some. Who did he do one with his other kid? Sleeping Beauties with Owen. Did he do one with Joe Hill?
I thought so. Oh no, Joe Hill helped him with the ending of 11.
Yeah, he helped him with that.
Didn't he?
I was thinking that he actually did like a full-on public. I don't know though. But yeah, I'll have to revise that. So like Gwendy will get added. At least the one Gwendy though. I'm not going to do the second one because King had nothing to do with the second Gwendy novel, so that one won't be on there. But yeah, we definitely got to add. Oh yeah, and we have Talisman and Black House on there, and that's with Peter Straub. So why Gwendy was again? I don't take blame. That was from King's website, so I blame him. But we'll make sure to get the first Gwendy book added, and then here in a month, the second one or the third one will get added, and then later in the year, Fairy Tale will get added. So looking forward to that. Looks like you already pre-ordered. I think I actually pulled it up on. I think it was on Barnes and Noble when I pulled up to look for that synopsis, and Barnes and Noble had a thing on there saying it was a bestseller. So I guess the pre-sales on Fairy Tale already have it as a Barnes & Noble bestseller.
It's Stephen King. Are we surprised?
No, but for pre-orders, it surprises me a little bit because I don't think people pre-order like they did back in like the early aughts. Like that was like a heavy time for pre-orders. Nowadays, I don't think people pre-order as heavily, or at least I didn't perceive that. But they're marketed as a bestseller, so, or maybe they just know it's not even pre-sales. Maybe they're just like, it's Stephen King, it's going to be a bestseller. Let's just throw that.
Let's just throw it on there already.
We know he's going to get it, so let's just give it to him. So yeah, we'll go ahead and sign off as we always do by saying long days and pleasant nights.
Long days and pleasant nights, folks.
All right, everyone in the chat, thank you guys for joining us. It's always fun to have you guys chatting along with us. We had a lively crew too. It looks I missed something about Poltergeist earlier. Talking about
is Poltergeist a villain?
Oh, well, that guy from the second one sure is.
I never saw the second one.
Creepy ass guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love those conversations. Those are always fun. But yeah. Thank you guys for joining us. You guys are awesome. It's always fun to have you guys with us. We'll be back in a fortnight for the Lud. Diving into Lud.
Getting to Lud.
No, diving into the Lud I can't remember if this one calls them books or chapters.
Oh, gotcha.
I think it is. I think this one it's chapters. It's chapter 1 was Jake and chapter 2 is Lud, and that's all. And then it's just sub-chapters. So I think we're getting into chapter 2, which is titled Lud. So we've now gotten Jake through the precipice.
Yep.
And that's where we're going to be starting off in a fortnight. Is Jake
Oi!
Jake on the other side? And you think we're going to get to Oi? And
It's almost immediately.
okay, so Oi's going to be showing up. Huh? Let's
Oi.
Oh yeah, so you guys are awesome. Thank you guys for joining us. And Carol says thank you for keeping me company at work. Definitely, it's our pleasure. So we will see you guys all in a fortnight, and we are eager to meet Oi and see Jake on the other side and see our quartet whole for the first time in our book clubs. Because up to this, well, unless you count Callahan, but ultimately we're getting our core quartet together for the very first time, starting in a fortnight. I'm really excited for that.
Oi.
So see you guys in a couple weeks.
Bye, everyone.